I am Dr. Mahesh Kumar, Scientist Sikh from a Clinical Epidemiology Division. Welcome you all to the World Breastfeeding Week celebration. World Breastfeeding Week is being conducted from August 1st to August 7th. So this year theme of World Breastfeeding Week is Step Up for Breastfeeding and Educate and Support. So today we have guest lectures to one keynote address by Dr. T. Usharani Madam and epidemiology by Samarsimha Reddy. And we have a very beautiful panel discussion. Before going that, I would like to request our director ma'am to give a opening remarks. Thank you.
Extremely pleased to welcome you all to this important symposium being conducted as part of a week-long breastfeeding, World Breastfeeding Day week celebrations. I'm also extremely happy and also profusely thankful to all the clinicians who have really made out time, particularly Dr. Usharani and the other doctors who have made it possible to come here. All of us understand the clinicians are extremely busy, especially gynecologists and pediatricians. All the time they'll be flooded with pregnant women, lactating women and children. So thank you all very much for making it. So as we are discussing here about breastfeeding, every few minutes, one child is dying because of poor feeding practices in our country and also globally. So all these are preventable deaths, completely preventable if only we follow breastfeeding and other child feeding practices appropriately. So that really places a huge responsibility as scientists on us and as clinicians, obstetricians and pediatricians. So where are we failing? We really do not know. Yes, we did make tremendous progress when we see the NFHS 5 data. Some of the states have really did well in early initiation and also exclusive breastfeeding. But then some of the states have even lagged behind. They have done poorly compared to the previous years. So what's happening? We have no idea. Although there are a number of policies and programs and initiatives by the government. But what we do understand is most of the programs are there, but we do not know if they are properly implemented in the government hospitals. And as far as the private sector is concerned, actually private sector is catching to a lot of deliveries and they do see infants, but these policies and programs are not in place. I mean, government support should be there, not only to the government hospitals, but also to the private sectors, because even they play a major role in motivating the mothers for initiation of exclusive breastfeeding and also early initiation. All of us know very well how it plays a significant role on child health. The preventable deaths like pneumonia, diarrhea, and also the adult onset diseases like overweight, obesity, and for the mother also, it plays huge benefit like ovarian cancer, breast cancer can be prevented. The risks of these are much reduced when the mother breastfeeds. So, and another important point is it's not only beneficial for the child and the mother, but also to the planet health, because now it has been calculated that every kg of formula milk produced contributes to 5 kg equivalent of CO2 production. So breastfeeding is the most sustainable feeding practices that a woman can follow, that we can motivate. So it helps not just the mother and the baby, but also the planet health. And therefore, it extends, its beneficial effects are not just limited to the mother and the baby, but it is extended to the society, country, and people at large. So keeping that in mind, we should be more motivated to nudge the mother and the mother to follow these principles. So apart from policies and programs, this 10 steps towards successful breastfeeding of WHO, all of us know very well, but the first 2 points are extremely important. What they say is, comply fully with the International Code of Breastfeeding, Marketing of Breastfeeding Substitutes. All of us know very well this formula milk is a breastfeeding substitute. Of course, India plays a very major role in following this international code. We completely, follow this guideline. But then other aspects of the number one point is have a data monitoring system. monitor and have a data management system to see whether the hospital is following it or not, and also have a written policy in place in every baby friendly hospital, a written infant feeding policy which can be communicated to the parents as well as to the staff who is working. And the second important point is, let us have this, we have staff for this, dedicated staff, they say, but we do not know whether they are sent for regular training. Regular training will definitely help them. They'll become more skillful and more competent in nudging the mother, new mothers, for early breastfeeding and also for exclusive breastfeeding. So these are all small aspects which can really go a long way in improving the breastfeeding practices in our country. So with these small, few remarks, I would like to conclude. And then once again, I profusely thank all the guests here who are present. We are going to really have a wonderful panel discussion, and keynote speaker, none other than Dr. Usha Rani, with lots of experience. She's going to give lots of information and new information to us. And then I also congratulate the young team who has worked and could get all the clinicians here, Dr. Mahesh Kumar and his team. So congratulations and all the best to you all. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for that encouraging words and giving opening remarks for today's wonderful occasion. So today, as mentioned, we have 2 lectures. So before going into the keynote lecture, we should have an outlook of epidemiology of what is the breastfeeding practices in India. So for that, our very own epidemiologist, Dr. Samarsimha Reddy, scientist E from clinical epidemiology, will present today on clinical evidences, current clinical evidences in India. Okay, thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Dr. Samarsimha Reddy, scientist E from Clinical Epidemiology Division. At the outset, I would like to thank our director, ma'am, for giving this opportunity to talk on this exclusive breastfeeding practices in India and the current available evidence with us. So, madam has beautifully laid down the platform on the importance of the exclusive breastfeeding. So, we'll not moving. Right. So in the coming 25 minutes, I'll be talking on the background and current recommendations on exclusive breastfeeding and the evidences for exclusive breastfeeding from the different data sets available in the country. That is NFHS data and the cohort studies and the HBGDKI dataverse and reanalysis of NFHS data with age appropriate children. So coming to the basic definition of the exclusive breastfeeding, it is defined as the infant has received only breast milk from his or her mother or a wet nurse, or expressed breast milk and no other liquids or solids, with the exception of drops or syrups consisting of vitamins, minerals, supplements, or medicines. So this, everyone is very well aware of this definition. Time and again, it has been repeated. So what is the current recommendation by WHO? The current recommendation by WHO is based on this Cochrane review by Kramer and Kakuma, which was last updated in the year 2012, which consisted of 23 studies, that is 11 from the developed countries and 12 from the developing countries, which had RCTs, cohort studies, cross-sectional studies. And what do they recommend? Exclusive breastfeeding for 6 months to achieve optimal growth, development, and health. And thereafter, the infant should be given the nutritious complementary food and continue breastfeeding up to 2 years of age or beyond. And the same report has given the benefits of EBF up to 6 months for infants and for mothers. For infants, yes, it reduces the risk of gastrointestinal infections. But in terms of growth, there was no adverse effect on growth among children who are breastfed up to 6 months compared to children who are breastfed below 6 months, that is either 4 months or 3 months, they couldn't find any growth difference. And for mothers, there are short-term benefits, that is, they remain amenorrheic for 6 months postpartum, and they lose weight postpartum at a slightly faster rate. And for long-term benefits, it is exclusive breastfeeding is protective against breast and ovarian carcinoma, and reduces the risk of type 2 diabetes by 9%. And with all these proven benefits of exclusive breastfeeding, and what are the current breastfeeding practices in India? So for this, first, I would like to talk about the National Family Health Survey reports. As our director madam has mentioned, NFHS is conducted across India in all states and union territories, where data will be collected in a cross-sectional point of time. So the two latest NFHS reports are NFHS 4, which was done in 2015 and 16, and NFHS 5, which is done in 2019 to 21. So what does it say? As for NFHS 4, 55% of children were exclusively breastfed up to 6 months of age, and it has improved by 2019 to 21. It has moved to 64%, and we can see clearly that in rural areas, the exclusive breastfeeding practices are much higher compared to the urban areas. So, but there are few problems with this NFHS data. The problems are EBF practices among children under 6 months of age are based on the youngest child living with the mother at the time of survey. And this is a cross-sectional design that is only at one point of time the data is collected, and there is an element of recall bias, and it includes children of all ages below 6 months, leading to overestimation. That is, at the time of survey, if they meet a 3 months old child and he or she was exclusively breastfed, they count him as exclusively breastfed up to 6 months, but that is not true. Okay. So for precise estimates, it is ideal to look at the cohort data sets. So we went and looked at few cohort studies. So there was a paper published in International Breastfeeding Journal with a pooled analysis of 3 prospective birth cohort studies in South India with a sample size of 1,088. So these are their estimates. That is, x-axis representing the duration of breastfeeding up to 6 weeks, and y-axis representing the proportion of children who are exclusively breastfed. At birth, 98.4% of children were exclusively breastfed, which has come down to 92% by 1 month of age, and which has further come down to 63% by 3 months of age. And at 4 months, it was 40%. At 6 months, it was 11.4%. Okay. So, and the median duration of exclusive breastfeeding was 15.9 weeks, which translates to 4 months. So then we looked at another cohort study with a much smaller sample size, that is 251 children. So this is also published in International Breastfeeding Journal. This study has more intense follow-up of once in 3 days. The mothers were followed once in 3 days for 2 years. Okay. So, so according to this data, this is the line showing the exclusive breastfeeding practices, which were 99% at birth, which has come down to 22% by 4 months and 1% by 6 months. Okay. The median duration of EBF was 81 days, which translates to 2.5 months. Okay. And then these are the other feeds given to the children, that is infant formula, animal milk, fruit juices, tea, coffee, and solid food, which are going up from birth to 6 months of age. And then based on these 2 cohort studies, which were very small in size, that is, even if we club, it is around 1500 sample size. So we thought, why don't we go and look into the much bigger data sets, which were done either in a cohort studies or RCTs. So there, at the same time, there was a call by Grand Challenges India. So I was funded by Grand Challenges India to understand the current breastfeeding practices in India by Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and our very own BIRAC. In this, there was Healthy Birth Growth Development Knowledge Integration Platform, that is HPGDKI platform, where there were a lot of data sets. This is a dataverse containing 29 data sets of cross-sectional studies, cohort studies, and randomized control trials, which were conducted in India between 1990 to 2014. Right. So these are all the studies. I'm sorry, the font is very small, but these are all the different studies here. 29 studies with variables of individual level characteristics, infant characteristics, maternal characteristics, socio-demographic characteristics, household characteristics, paternal characteristics, and these are the observations which are ranging from 10 to 1 lakh. So in this dataverse, we started analyzing it with three objectives. One is to look at the proportion of mothers who exclusively breastfed their infants for 4 months and 6 months. And the second objective was to compare growth at 12, 18, and 24 months among these children who were exclusively breastfed for 4 months and 6 months. And third one is to evaluate the cumulative respiratory and gastrointestinal infections experienced by these children up to 24 months of age among children who are exclusively breastfed for 4 months and 6 months. So with these three objectives, we started this analysis, and this is the dataverse, which was for which we were given access with 29 data sets. From these 29 data sets, there were a few cross-sectional studies and RCT subsample studies which were removed as they were not eligible for analysis, and few studies had children who were enrolled 4 months and beyond, but we need to have data from birth. So we have excluded them, and few studies were excluded because there was no follow-up up to 2 years. We wanted follow-up up to 2 years to compare growth and infection. So these were removed, and finally, we ended up with 8 studies. So these 8 studies were included in the analysis, and these are the 8 studies which went into analysis. These are the short forms of the study name. They were conducted from 1995 to 2012, and the study settings were different places in north and southern India, and representing the urban, semi-urban, and rural areas. And the study design was varied ranging from randomized controlled trial to cohort studies. And these were the original aims of the study, where they were looked at the effect of vitamin A supplementation with immunization, effect of zinc supplementation on infant mortality. There were different objectives, and these were the sample sizes. And we had a cumulative sample size of 55,263 children to look at the exclusive breastfeeding practices and its effect on growth and infections. So this is how we performed the data analysis. R Studio was used, and a stepwise backward elimination method was performed to select the baseline variables to have comparability between 4 and 6 months. So a 1-to-1 propensity score matching was followed, so that the comparison between the children who are breastfed up to 4 months and 6 months were similar, and there was no confounding effect of any other variables. So all the baseline characteristics related to the infant characteristics, maternal characteristics, socio-demographic characteristics, household characteristics were exactly matched for this analysis. And we used linear mixed models and generalized linear mixed models for the different types of data, either continuous data or categorical data or repeated outcomes. So this is the graph showing the exclusive breastfeeding practices from all the selected 8 studies. And each line represents each individual study, and this red line represents the pooled study. So from this data, what we found was exclusive breastfeeding at 4 months was seen in 2,609 children out of 55,623 children, and at 6 months it was seen in 1,657 children, which translates to 3%. So then we did a propensity score matching, and we ended up with 238 pairs of children who were breastfed for 4 months and 6 months, and who were similar in all the baseline characteristics exactly. And these are the 2 graphs showing the height and weight comparison. And this is the x-axis showing month starting from 0 to 24 months. Y-axis is showing the growth velocity in centimeters per month. And weight, this is the graph showing comparing the weight between 4 months and 6 months. The red line represents 4 months and blue line representing the 6 months. And we are seeing an overlapping graphs with the dark line representing the 95% confidence interval, which was not significant. But when we looked at the prevalence of stunting from birth to 24 months, this is the graph, like x-axis representing age in months and y-axis representing the prevalence of stunting. And this red line is prevalence of stunting in 4 months, and blue line is prevalence of stunting in 6 months. If you can see, the 2 lines are going together up to almost 1 year of age. After that, the stunting is on rise in children who are exclusively breastfed up to 4 months compared to 6 months, and with the 95% confidence intervals not overlapping, we can say that the difference is statistically significant. And when we translate that into a table with z-scores, so this at 12 months and 18 months and 24 months, and at 12 months there was no difference with the 3 z-scores: length for A z-score, weight for A z-score, and weight for height z-score. The growth difference between the 2 groups was not statistically significant. But at 18 months, in terms of length for A z-score, that is what we do for stunting, children who were breastfed up to 6 months had better growth compared to 4 months, and this difference was statistically significant.
Here, did you control other factors?
Yes, sir.
1 year?
Yes, sir. That's where the propensity score matching comes. These two groups were exactly similar in their baseline characteristics. And at 24 months also, but we didn't see any difference in terms of weight per age and weight per height. But at 24 months also, in terms of length per age, these scores, 6 months had better growth compared to 4 months, and this difference was statistically significant. But so this is for the first time we are finding that exclusively breastfeeding for 6 months is better even in terms of growth. So we need to update the evidence by writing to Cracker and Kakuma to say that we found a better growth for children who are exclusively breastfed at 6 months compared to 4 months. Then moving on to the third objective, number of episodes of diarrheal and respiratory illness. So this is the axis showing age in months and number of diarrheal episodes. We can see the bars in red are much bigger compared to the bars in blue, showing that more number of diarrheal episodes in 4 months group compared to 6 months group. Similar with the respiratory illness, more number of episodes of respiratory illnesses compared to 6 months group. When we translate that put into a table in terms of incidence rates, so the incidence rate of respiratory illnesses among 6 months group were 10 episodes per 100 child years follow-up, which is very less compared to the 39 episodes in 4 months group, which translates to a relative risk of 0.26, ranging from 0.15 to 0.45, which was highly significant, which says that children who were exclusively breastfed for 6 months had 74% decreased risk of respiratory infection compared to children who were breastfed for 4 months. Similarly, with the diarrheal episodes, the incidence rate among 6 months group was 131 episodes per 100 child years of follow-up. And this group had much higher number, that is 269 episodes per 100 child years, with a relative risk of 0.49, which is also significant, which translates to 51% decreased risk of diarrheal illness among children who are breastfed for 6 months compared to 4 months. Then these are the summary of the findings from this HPGDKI. The proportion of infants exclusively breastfed for 4 months and 6 months were 5% and 3%. Children exclusively breastfed for 6 months has better growth in terms of LEAZ score at 18 and 24 months of life compared to children exclusively breastfed for 4 months. And children exclusively breastfed for 6 months are at lower risk of respiratory infections and diarrheal illness compared to children who are breastfed for 4 months. So with this finding, we thought of going back and looking at NFHS 4 and 5 data to know exactly what proportion of mothers were breastfeeding their children for 6 months and 4 months by including the age appropriate children. So this is the flowchart showing that with NFHS 4 data, with 2.5 out of 2.59 lakh children, there were 16,000 children who are aged between 0 to 6 months, and with NFHS 5 data, out of 2.32 lakh children, there were 25,748 children who were aged between 0 to 6 months, and among them, we came down to 180 plus or minus 2 weeks. That is 180 days, 2 weeks this side and 2 weeks that side to look at the EBF practices. With a number of weighted number of 3,611 in NFHS 5 and 2,889 in NFHS 4. So we put the exclusive breastfeeding practices as per each month according to the age appropriateness of the child. And we found that exclusive breastfeeding at 4 months as per NFHS 4 data was 50%, and as per NFHS 5 it is 60% almost. And exclusive breastfeeding at 6 months as per NFHS 4 was 29%, and NFHS 5 was 32% if we include age appropriate children. So this is the graph showing the different types of feeds which were given during the first 6 months of life, starting from 0 to 6 months, apart from exclusive breastfeeding. Though the major chunk was exclusive breastfeeding, but as we go from 0 months to 6 months, other feedings have increased, but the fortified foods, fruit juices, infant formula, powdered or fresh milk, solid food and water proportion remains same, though it has come down in NFHS 5 compared to NFHS 4. So in conclusion, the cross-sectional studies are showing that EBF up to 6 months was between 55 to 64%, and the cohort studies are showing that it is between 3 to 11%. And the reanalysis of national data sets with age-appropriate children show that EBF up to 6 months was between 29 to 32%. And children who were breastfed up to 6 months had better growth and fewer risk of infections during the first 2 years of life compared to children who are exclusively breastfed up to 4 months. This reiterates the importance of 6 months EBF practice that need to be promoted in the Indian setting. So, yeah, thank you.
Any questions regarding this topic?
For reanalysis, what is the age group you consider? So 6 months to 11 months or 6
No,
months
sir.
to 9 months?
Sir, we took 6 months plus 2 weeks on this side and plus 2 weeks on that side. That is 180 days plus 2 weeks is 194 days and 180 days minus 2 weeks is 166 days. Children who are aged between 166 to 194 days were considered for this analysis.
But 80 days minus 2 weeks not necessary.
Yes, sir. Just to
You have to see the cutoff. If you take cutoff 180,
sir.
beyond only we have to see. So there is no need of going minus.
Yes, sir. If we take just 180, the sample size was much smaller.
Don't consider.
No, yeah, we are not considering sample size.
So sample size, whatever it is, you have to show that, and it may even little change also there.
Yeah, we did that also, sir. We did that, and the number was almost same, not much different.
Very good analysis. Very good for this.
Excuse me.
Can you go to your slide that diarrheal illnesses? This one. So if you see here at 0 months of age, if you see the diarrheal illnesses, even at for 4 months were exclusively breastfed and 6 months exclusively breastfed. At 0 months also you will see the 4 months you will see the higher episodes of illnesses. Okay, even at 0 months, 1 month and 2 months. That's why they are coming the same pattern in that one.
That's not correct.
Whether this was you have considered in that analysis.
No, sir. Actually, for this analysis, this is a graphical representation, but this is the main analysis we did. What we did is we counted the number of person observations. So from a child who is starting from 4 months to 2 years, the number of person observation years, and for 6 months, number of person observation years, and number of episodes. Number of episodes divided by total number of person observations gave this number.
Yes, on that one point is also clear that the children who are exclusively breastfed at 4 months of age, they are socioeconomically also they are very backward. Okay, and whether that socioeconomic point we have adjusted in your analysis.
Sir, everything, all the two groups which were compared were exactly similar. We have made sure that we have adjusted for 20 different variables. That's why we had just 238 pairs. If we loosen that criteria,
just simply say of the 20 different variables, socioeconomic status also.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that is correct. But the previous graph, it should not.
Yeah, that graph is misrepresented. But the way exactly we did is from we calculated from 4 months to 2 years in terms of number of person observations. Yes.
Yeah, maybe
yes,
think about this one.
We'll reanalyze it. Thank you.
Not reanalyze.
Yeah, we'll represent.
Even you can check analysis also. Some problem.
No, actually, this is the main analysis.
Yeah, this is okay. This understood, but that will divert the.
I think we go for question.
Yeah, next. Okay.
Because this.
Okay.
We'll go with these questions.
Afterwards.
Yes, please.
Afterwards. Questions.
Start the.
So.
Later on.
The recommendation is exclusive breastfeeding for 6 months initiation and complementary feeding after completion. Yes, even now also medical practice are following. They are initiating a complementary at the age of 4 months only, after completion of 4 months. Including the animal source. There were those who are having this one initiated complementary at 4 months of the medical protein status better compared to those who are initiated complementary at the completion of 6 months. With respect to any alternatives very high compared among those who initiated complementary food after 6 months compared to 4 months. But also finding is the growth pattern.
Yes, sir. It will be good to look at the micronutrient data also if we have, but we didn't have that data. But it will be ideal to look at what is happening with the iron stores and this thing. Yes. But this is the evidence for growth and infections.
Growth indicator is better than even your iron indicator. For all you know, children who are rapidly growing, the iron levels may be low also, which will be wrong information, in fact. So blood biomarkers are not that indicative, especially if the child is growing well. That's the best indicator we can have.
Thank you. Thank you.
And take the questions, during.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Dr. Samarsimha Reddy, for this outline of current evidences. So I take this honor to invite Dr. T. Usharani ma'am onto the dais. Before that, I just want to give a brief introduction about ma'am. Dr. T. Usharani ma'am is a professor and HOD at Neelafar Hospital. She did her MBBS and MD, Medicine Pediatrics. And she has finished, after finishing, she did practice at Gandhi Hospital in 1998. Then she has been appointed as associate professor. And then she's working as a HOD of pediatric division. And she has done various clinical trials. And she is a very good teacher. Her teaching is at national level. She is a teacher for IYCF practices also. So today she will be really asset for us. So I request Dr. T. Usharani madam to come and give the presentation. Thank you.
Yeah, very good morning to you all. At the outset, I would like to convey my heartfelt thanks to Dr. Hemlata. Hemlata actually, in fact, is a good friend of my dear friend, Dr. Vasudeva Murli, who is a retired professor of pediatrics from Gandhi Medical College. Really nice to meet you all in this month of August in a pleasant morning. That too during auspicious breastfeeding week and talking on a topic which is very close to my heart and a topic which I'm passionate about. So really it is a week of celebration for all the stakeholders of child health. I would like to thank Dr. Mahesh. Mahesh was my student at Gandhi Medical College. Really he's been working hard to arrange this program. And also nice to see our doctor colleagues, Suchitra, Sirisha, Srilekha, Samira, and all the scientists. So after this evidence-based talk, actually the previous talk was very good. As clinicians, it looked really complex to me, frankly speaking. When we look at an article, suppose there is a Cochrane, some article in a Cochrane base, we accept the facts. But I never knew that we can cross-analyze and we say those facts may not be correct. So there's a real good experience to see Dr. Samarsimha Reddy explaining all those. Of course, many terms were new to us. I can see many young faces here. Are you all well-versed with those terms? These are all MSc nutrition students. So you would be teaching research methodology also to them? So I really request all the scientists here, please help us with this research methodology. We have a lot of students. This has become a mandatory thing for us, but we are unable to teach as you teach because we are also not trained so well. Though we are, for what to say, it is a compulsory thing for us to pass the BCPR exam. So we are reading little and we are passing the exam, but that's we do not know. So probably I look forward, please, we require your cooperation, madam. You people can come and take classes for us on research methodology and statistics.
Workshop.
Yeah, I can do a workshop. That will be great, ma'am. Anyway, coming to my topic, I won't be so evidence-based, Samarsimha. Mine is more of sharing of experiences.
That's much more valuable.
So I thought we all know, madam has very well said, breastfeeding, all of us know breastfeeding is useful in many ways, but still breastfeeding is not so optimal. Rates are not so optimal. So why it is still enigmatic? Why it is so complex to achieve the optimal breastfeeding rates? And what are the solutions? So in my flow presentation, I would like to touch upon some historical aspects of breastfeeding. What are the current trends? Of course, in previous speaker had already spoken about that. And what are the challenges and what are the possible solutions? And I would like to share some of our clinical experiences in my more than 2 decades of pediatric experience. And I would talk little on theme of breastfeeding week. If you look into the history, breastfeeding was natural in our ancient India. And Vedas mention breast milk as symbolic of longevity and nectarine sweetness. All of you know Sushruta, right? Students?
Yes.
Are all of you from Telugu states or from different states of India?
Different states.
Oh, nice. So all of you know Vedas and Sushruta. So Sushruta is a very popular ancient surgeon. So as early as 400 BC, he described the power of breast milk. So to read his words, so drinking of breast milk, whose sap is the sap of immortal life divine, may your baby gain long life, as do the gods, by feeding on the beverage of immortality. So he compared the breast milk with the goodness of Amrita, how gods remained immortal by drinking Amrita. Similarly, breast milk can give long life to the baby and improve the child survival. And in those days, when breastfeeding was not possible, wet nursing was a practice. And the best example for wet nursing is from Puranas. Lord Krishna was nursed by Yashoda, who was not his biological mother. And this has formed a very basis for human milk banking nowadays. See, we are taking clues from Puranas. So the wet nursing is a very basis. All of you know what is human milk banking? Students here. So wet nursing is a basis. So in those days in ancient India, when mother was not available for some reason, for some sickness or the other thing, so they used to take help from wet nursing. Later in medieval ages, what happened was the queens felt breastfeeding was unfashionable somehow. So they resorted to wet nursing. So the wet nursing became a profession. And later on, what happened with modernization and globalization, the trade took a front seat. The baby food manufacturing industry, it has boomed like anything. It started campaigning aggressively about baby foods. So what has happened? The mothers felt, seeing the chubby babies on the covers of infant food dabbas, they thought their babies also will grow better with artificial feed rather than human milk. So that's how breastfeeding took a backseat. And now we are struggling. See how much so it has become suboptimal. The breastfeeding, which was universal in ancient India, it has become dismal. And from 1990s, I think from 1990, the aggressive promotion of breastfeeding has started. Most of the campaigns have started from 1992. Whether BFHI or IMS Act, all those, they started from 19. So all of us are struggling. We are conducting so many programs to promote a thing which has to happen naturally. So if you look at the facts, WHO website says only 3 out of 5 babies born are breastfed during first hour of life. So this first hour of feeding is so important. And I don't want to go into statistics. Samaji Bharati has dealt enough with the statistics. So what I understand from his talk is, we can take only half of these percentages. Is it so? No, not like that. Oh, okay. So because so here I can I remove? This is live streaming, is it? So this percent exclusive breastfeeding rate in NHS 5 I did not project because between 4 and 5 there is hardly any difference. Probably because of COVID pandemic, not much of improvements were there between 4 and 5. Especially whatever gains we got in the healthcare systems or nutrition, we lost because of the pandemic, because it was devastating to whole world. So exclusive breastfeeding rates are around 55%. This is the national average. Sorry, the slide here is different. If you see for 6 months of exclusive breastfeeding, the national average is around 55. So we can be proud that Telangana is doing better, 10%, nearly more than 10% above. But first hour of feeding, if you see, still it is less than 50%. Between NFHS 4 and 5, there is hardly any difference. NFHS 5 also, it is only 41.6%. And Telangana, unfortunately, is doing very less. It is only 35.9%, almost 10% lesser than the national average, nearly 10%. If you see, all of you must have heard the speeches of our health minister, Harish Rao Garu. Do you watch television, students? So every speech, he mentions about normal delivery, importance of normal delivery, and also institutional deliveries. So he's a staunch campaigner for institutional delivery and normal. So if you look at this, the institutional delivery rates in India have increased. NFHS 5 says there is nearly 88.6%, and in Telangana is more than 90%. But if you look at the early initiation rates, has it increased proportionately? No, it is still in 41.6%. So where is the gap now? People are coming to hospitals for deliveries, but still first hour feeding is not happening. Who is responsible? Are we not responsible? We, the healthcare professionals? So what are the effects of not feeding adequately? So what are the brunt faced by India every year? If you look at the figures, every year 1 lakh children are dying because of suboptimal feeding practices. More than 3 crores of diarrheal cases are happening. More than 24 lakh cases of pneumonia are happening. There is a epidemic of obesity, increase of cancers, and also type 2 diabetes. All non-communicable disease rates are increasing because of inadequate breastfeeding. So these are also calculated by scientists like you. We cannot calculate this. So based on the probably based on the incidence and prevalence rates. So if you look at the financial loss, every year the healthcare cost loss is around $106 million, a huge amount, by simply not feeding well or not attaining optimal breastfeeding rates. We are losing so much of money. Then why do you think are the reasons why our breastfeeding rates are not optimal? Of course, there are so many socio-cultural reasons, cultural traditional practices, all those come into play. But what the studies have found is the many mothers who are not feeding exclusively for 6 months, the top concerns were, my baby is not suckling well, my feed is not enough for the baby, that's why I'm giving a bottle feed, or I'm having nipple pain. These are the common complaints which were found in most of the studies. And the most important predictor for failure of lactation is delayed lactation. Suppose within 72 hours, if feeding is not established, that mother is more likely to give bottle food feeding and more likely to stop breastfeeding before 6 months of life. Why this is happening again? Lack of support from her surroundings. The other things, we have an act, as Madam said, we have an IMS Act, which was enacted as early as in 1992, amended later in 2003. But suppose if I go to Singapore with the money of a Nestle company, who is going to find out? Who is going to penalize me? Unless Sujitra is against me and wants to complain, nobody is going to penalize. So unless my opponent complains, so that means there is no way act can be implemented, monitored, and penalties are given to the doctors. So that is why the baby food manufacturing industry, I'll give you another example. In the recently held World Health Assembly, and not recently, probably before Biden took over, when Trump was US president, in the World Health Assembly, they wanted to take a resolution to put a restriction on aggressive promotion of the baby food products. But US delegation, they opposed it. See the amount of influence the market has on the governments. So the governments cannot take strong decisions because industry is influencing them. That is the best example. At present, the infant food industry stands at, it is a more than $50 billion industry. Then if you look at the leave policies, we are fortunate in the government sector, we get 6 months leave. I think central government, you people get another 2 years of childcare leave. But what about the unorganized sectors? What about the private sectors? Or if there is a small employer, he cannot give salary to a lady who is on leave. So this has to be supported by governments. So all the small scale industries who cannot support women, paid leave for women, then those should be supported by the government. So these are not in place. Majority of the government jobs are meager. Majority of the women are working in unorganized sectors or private sector. Then also there is another in IMS Act also says, wherever more than 13 women are working, there should be a creche, a baby care center. Are you having, madam? I don't know. So your institute is much better. Unfortunately, even we don't have. Even Gandhi Hospital doesn't have. Nilafar Hospital doesn't have. So in spite of, we've been talking about it every year during breastfeeding weeks, but somehow this is not happening. But fortunately, we have a milk bank where we are, which we are using for expression. The mothers are using for expression of their milk, but there's no childcare center. So coming to baby friendly, as I said earlier, another important initiative which was launched by WHO and UNICEF is BFHI. The 10 steps we all know. Every hospital should have a good written policy, good monitoring mechanisms, data management system, and it should be supporting mothers starting from antenatal period through the delivery till discharge. So these 10 steps are very well known to us, but are we implementing it? How many accredited centers we have? Even we are sorry to say, even our hospitals are not BFHI accredited. Why is it happening? One is lack of ownership. The ownership for breastfeeding promotion is taken up only by few. So we have 50 plus faculty in our own department, but only we are regular players. Maybe Sirisha, Srilekha, Suchitra, Shavanti, myself, or some doctors, we attend most of the breastfeeding programs and we strive for it. But some people are so indifferent, so insensitive, they don't want to get into it. They don't say breastfeeding as a very important aspect. Similarly, from the administration, many of the administrations of the hospitals, they do not think breastfeeding is a very important aspect and the BFHI is important. So you're fortunate you have Dr. Hemlata, but unfortunately, we do not have such supportive administrations in most of the hospitals. And another thing is most of the health sector hospitals they are overburdened. If you look at Gandhi, Nilofar, or any government maternity hospital, almost 30 to 40 deliveries are conducted every day. But we do not have enough doctors. The obstetricians, Samira will agree with me. So more obstetricians are busy with the mother. And simply after the baby is delivered, they hand over the baby to the attendants. And we do not have separate staff or lactational counselors to support breastfeeding at the time of birth and support BFHI practices. Then what should we do? So we've been talking over the years, but of course our talking is not waste. Compared to NFHS 1, we have improved significantly. NFHS 1 early initiation rates were only 9%. Now we have come to 41%. And actually, in the last 4 to 5 years, more and more younger generation is also getting involved in breastfeeding promotion. So probably near 100% rates we will achieve faster compared to earlier days. So the commitment and efforts are needed at every level, starting from individual, community, institutions to the government. This is called a famous breastfeeding gear model. This is adopted by many countries for successful scaling up of the activities of breastfeeding promotion. So this gear, there are 8 gears. One is advocacy. The advocacy is very, very important. So advocacy should be evidence-based. How you scientists, after research, you give us some facts. And based on those facts and figures, we advocate. And this advocacy must lead to political will. The government should become proactive and they should bring out legislations like IMS Act or extending maternity leaves, providing conducive environments for mothers to feed at workplaces, etc. And there should be enough funding and resource for all these and also for all the training programs. Capacity building of all the stakeholders is very, very vital. And then research. What are all the gaps? So he has very well analyzed where are the gaps, why they are not feeding. The exclusive breastfeeding rates are so low. Why is it? What are the factors which are leading to it? So that is your job to research. Then this is about overview of how to improve. Then I think I will share some of our experiences in our hospitals. All of you know the first hour is so important. It is called golden hour, a magical hour, or a sacred hour. First impression of life outside the womb, it should be very warm and welcoming to the baby. The biggest favor we can do to a baby after delivery is place the baby on the mother's chest after cutting the umbilical cord. Do not give the baby to the attendant. Just keep the baby with the mother in a prone position. What the baby does, baby slowly crawls and the baby herself will find the nipple and start sucking. This is called breast crawl. We have beautiful videos on YouTube about breast crawl. Some of you students can go and watch them. Really inspiring, really inspiring. So this is called skin to skin contact. Placing the baby on the mother's chest is called skin to skin contact. It is not so simple. The baby passes through 9 instinctive stages and finally after sucking it dozes into sleep. This initial sucking prepares the breast for the subsequent feed. And it not only promotes breastfeeding, the baby's temperature is maintained. There will be better maternal and infant behaviors with skin to skin contact. And another greatest advantage is nowadays there's a lot of talk on microbiome. So microbiota is called the second genome. This SSC helps in establishing the favorable microbiome in the baby. Are you doing any research on microbiome? We'll also get included in the study, madam, research. So if you look at the implementation, we know there are so many benefits, but figures say it is only 41.6% at present. So why is this happening? As I told earlier, again, a lot of deliveries happen, less manpower. We do not have adequate funding also to support. And lack of, sometimes there is indifference from the, obstetricians. Obstetricians are very busy with the mother, and some of the obstetricians, not you, madam, they simply don't want. They feel if you place the baby, baby may fall. Why unnecessary headache? Just give it to the grandmother, we are safe. There is some indifferent attitudes from the doctors and probably lack of knowledge. If we do not upgrade the skills, what we don't know, we don't want to practice, definitely. So this, I would like to quote one example from Gandhi Hospital. In 2012, I can say is a revolution for newborn health in the government sector. Special newborn care units have been set up across India, even in remotest of the places. Even in Nirmal in Adilabad has an SNCU. Earlier, all newborn babies which required little oxygen, little phototherapy, they were being referred to Gandhi Hospital or Nilofer Hospital. But now even remotest places have SNCUs. NHM gave funding for establishing infrastructure, equipment, and also staffing. The nursing staff, doctors are exclusively for SNCUs. So in Gandhi also we got an SNC in 2012. There were 4 support staff given for cleaning and for assistance. What we did is cleaning, we got it done by regular hospital staff, and these staff we utilized for breastfeeding support in the labor rooms. They were all 9th or 10th class passed or failed, God knows, but they're not very well educated at that point. We gave little bit training on IVCF and we posted on rotation in different shifts in the labor room. So before 2012, the practice was to give the baby to the attendant. So the early hour feeding, first hour feedings was 0. But within 4 months of appointing these people, in normal deliveries, the rate increased to 80%, whereas the percentage in cesareans increased to 60%. So just having one person, he need not be highly qualified, he need not be highly qualified lactation consultant, just whose job is only to support breastfeeding, will ensure skin to skin contact and will improve the early initiation of breastfeeding. That is about earlier. Then some of other experiences in postnatal. We go for postnatal round sometimes. Of course, regularly our juniors go. So when I was a junior, I was also going for a postnatal ward route, and I saw a mother who was crying with pain while feeding. She was sitting crying while feeding the baby. I asked why you crying. Then she said, my doctor told I should sit and feed. I'm unable to sit. That is second day of section. So it's a very common scenario, because why this has happened, the doctor did not know that, or she did know that only sitting is the ideal position for feeding, and baby should not be fed in lying down position. Another very common scenario that sometimes mothers are found with bottles. So why you're using bottle? If you ask, they say I'm giving my feed only most of the times, but 1 or 2 feeds I give bottle because my milk is not sufficient. So why these situations are happening? Because there's a lack of awareness of positions by the resident, and also lack of awareness on why mother is doing that, because she was not offered proper support by the healthcare professionals or whoever is there near the time at the time of delivery. So students, what is the best position for feeding? What is the best position? Mother in ways it should sit, lie down, stand. Which is the best position? So whatever position is comfortable to mother and baby. Here you can see mother sitting position, standing also. We often see mothers, they will be feeding and they walk. Some of our assistants, they also must have faced. If the elder child asks something, "Mummy, get me something," mother will go like this while feeding the second child. So the standing is a very common scenario in our households. So supine position, so cesarean mother, in the operation theater itself, she can feed the baby, mother can be in supine, baby can be in the prone position over the breast. But sometimes what can happen, the baby may kick at the suture site. So how to avoid, what we do is side lying position. Baby will be to the body, will be to the side, and baby's head will be over the breast. So we can use different position, or sometimes we say over the shoulder. Baby will be above the shoulder, head will be over the breast. So there are different positions which can be tried in cesarean section. Once the mother is better on third day, fourth day, if she is able to turn a little, sideline position can be used. So this which movie it is this? Bahubali, everybody knows. So twins also can be fed comfortably. So once the position is good, attachment will be good. This attachment 4 points you will all be knowing. Breastfeeding is taught to them, is it? Positioning, attachment. So these 4 points: the wide open, lower lip inverted, chin should be touching the breast, and lower areola should not be visible. These 4 points, if they are good, so the mother holds the baby correctly, the attachment will be good. The baby should suck on the areola and not on the nipple. If this is happening, then there is no problem with the feeding. If this can happen in the first hour, there's no problem with lactation. Mother can feed happily for 6 months. Another common problem we come across is most of the mothers hold breast like this. They like a scissor. In older times, when we were doing PG, this was taught like that. So mothers hold the areola like this. So what will happen? Where will the baby catch? So areola, so baby will catch only nipple. That leads to baby will not get enough milk. Baby will be sucking rapidly, and that will lead to no milk, and mother will have nipple cracks. That will lead to failure of lactation. So actually, this also we learned in one of the IVCF trainings. You press like this, press your nose, students. Are you able to breathe? Or no. You can, no? I am not able to breathe. So even if the breast presses the nose of the baby, there's no problem. Mothers need not have to worry so much about it. So once this scissoring, many mothers can be helped by avoiding this scissor holding. If at all mothers want to support the breast, she can support the breast from the below, but it should not touch the areola. So another thing, many mothers have insecurities. My milk won't be sufficient. Even previous child I could not feed. This child also I will not get milk. I am sure. Whatever you say, they say, I'm sure. So what it requires is, again, you know why this doubt is triggered? Whenever a baby is born in our households, the custom is some visitors, some friends and neighbors, they visit us. Is it not? They come, they go to the mother with some gifts, some baby products and dresses. Along with this, they carry another gift, which instills insecurity in the mother. That is, they say, baby is so small, your milk is, even if baby is 4 kg, they say the same thing. The baby is so small, your milk is not sufficient. Go for some other milk. So what action can we do? We need to support the family and communities. If they are well versed with the breastfeeding practices, this would not happen. This is another example. Am I crossing time? Please remind me. So this is another situation. I was doing night duty when resident came running. This mother delivered twins. One of the twins' lips were smeared with blood. Madam, there's bleeding. What should I do? shall I give bottle feed? Then this also, I came to know about this in one of the quiz programs. This is an entity called rusty pipe syndrome. Because of the engorgement, the capillaries rupture and the blood gets mixed with the milk in the ducts, lactiferous ducts. So the blood-stained milk get secreted for 2-3 days. This is a physiological phenomenon. It doesn't require stoppage of breastfeeding. Baby can continue. But if the mother is anxious that frank blood is there, only for 1 or 2 days you can support with other feed, but she can resume breastfeeding. This we published in an international journal. Then what about sustaining breastfeeding? A small baby who cannot suck, a sick baby who cannot suck. So there are many methods. One of the few interventions I would touch upon is kangaroo mother care. So what is a kangaroo? You know, no KMC? What is the size of a kangaroo baby? Nice. It is a peanut size. So kangaroo mother care is a very effective intervention for care of low birth weight babies. It provides warmth and also helps the baby in breastfeeding. So here you can see in Nilofer Hospital, and also here you can see in the ICU, a mother is feeding when the baby is on respiratory support, when providing KMC even if the baby is on machine, like machine which is called CPAP, which we give for respiratory problems. So if KMC is followed, the breastfeeding at discharge can be improved to 100%. So another major intervention is human milk banking. So HMB is just not a bank for storage or expression or processing, but it is a comprehensive lactation management center where breastfeeding support is given starting from antenatal period till even if the baby is sick, we are giving donor milk from the bank. So we are lucky to have very well performing milk bank in our hospital, Datri Milk Bank with public-private partnership. This was established in 2017. So these are the equipment. This is the area where milk expression is done. You can see the breast pumps. You can see the equipment, defreezer, refrigerators, and a pasteurizer. The flow is once a donor, we take the milk only after mother gives informed consent after screening for HIV, HBsAg, because they're already with the test. During pregnancy, anyway, test would be done. So if this is negative, then only mothers will be accepted. Then after they express the milk in the milk expression area, and the milk is stored in a defreezer and also pasteurized. After pasteurization, why pasteurization is done is to kill the bacteria. Post pasteurization, we take culture samples, and only if the culture is negative, that milk will be given to the babies. So this milk is preferentially given to sick babies in the NICUs. So I was lucky to be there when the first milk was dispensed to a sick baby in our SNCU. This is the numbers. How many mothers come, how many mothers express milk, how many mothers. Some of the milk is given to their own babies. If it is extra, it is given to the other babies. So far, around 11 lakh, more than 11 lakh milliliters of milk has been given to sick babies from 2017 till now. And it has helped more than 35,000 mothers and 1,200 babies. So this is a baby born at around 1 with a weight of 1 kilo. But at 4 months when she came for follow-up, she was exclusively given human milk, I would say, donor milk initially. And by the time the discharge was made, mother was given. And at 4 months, the baby gained good weight and was healthy. And parents named her after the name of the milk bank as Datri. There's so many success stories, triplets, twins fed with donor milk and improved. There are so many government programs. I need not tell you IVCF, IMNCA, IMS. Ma is a mother's absolute affectionate program. So government is also putting in a lot of efforts to promote breastfeeding. State governments, they have taken out innovative ideas by opening kiosks in the public places to protect privacy of breastfeeding. And finally, coming to the theme, we are celebrating. Why we are celebrating? Again, the main aim is to promote breastfeeding and attaining optimal breastfeeding rates. So this year's logo, all of you know, the mother-baby dyad along with the father is, this blue line indicates But this blue line indicates the support system. And this arrow indicates the need to step up. We have to scale up the breastfeeding promotions. This is a warm chain. All of us are partners of warm chain. Researchers, nutritionists, doctors, nurses, government policy makers, all are part of warm chain. So we need to strengthen this warm chain to protect and promote the breastfeeding. And India has taken up, the Breastfeeding Promotion Network of India has taken another theme along with the main theme of VABA. And the main focus is to strengthen or to accredit more and more hospitals under BFHI initiative. And we also have done a lot of activities in Nilofer Hospital. We made a video along with NNF and I shared it on the Facebook. We did an elocution competition, workshops for nurses, PGs, and I'm happy that postgraduates are showing a lot of interest now. And they're actively interacting and they even enacted role plays. So with this, I would like to conclude. Maybe if I ask together, I'll talk if I'm given time. I'll stop here. So baby humans need human milk and baby cows need cow's milk. And this baby is from Nilofer. This cow is from my mother's place in Bhimavaram. Last year in August it delivered. So this was such a delightful visual to see. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you, ma'am, for this wonderful lecture. And you have given basics of the breastfeeding practices and your personal experiences. So, in fact, we have a lot of success stories. And in fact, many of our questions in panel also you have covered. So, with the same enthusiasm, we just want to continue the session. The next session will be a panel discussion where all the pediatrician, obstetric gynecologists, and public health specialists will come onto the dais and they will answer the questions. And even after that, we will have a question and answer session from students also. But we will have a real quick break for 10 minutes. Kindly have your tea in the corridor next to the assembly hall. Ma'am, we'll bring it. We'll be starting in 10 minutes. Okay, thank you.
The National Institute of Nutrition, fondly called as NIN, has been in the service of the nation for the past 100 years. It was established in the year 1918 in a single-room laboratory at Kunur near Ooty in Tamil Nadu. It was earlier called as Berry Berry Enquiry Unit and later as Deficiency Disease Enquiry. When it was shifted to the beautiful city of Hyderabad in 1958, it was referred by a new name, Nutrition Research Laboratories. In the year 1968, on the occasion of its Diamond Jubilee, the institute got rechristened as the National Institute of Nutrition. The long journey of NIN is dotted with several breathtaking landscapes. Had paved way for the formulation of several national nutrition programs. Today, NIN is in the forefront of nutrition research as it guides many departments and ministries all over the country in the effective implementation of nutritional policies and programs. Research is the primary goal of NIN. NIN proudly houses the state-of-the-art infrastructural facilities to boost its research endeavors. These modern equipments provide the shot in the arm of the Institute's scientific tapestry. NIN derives its strength from the dynamic leadership, constant support and guidance of the superiors at the top. Let us now have a glimpse, a bird's eye view of the work done here. The research activities of the Institute can be divided into three categories: clinical, laboratory and community. Let's start with clinical research first and see what kind of work NIN does in the city's major hospitals. The nutrition wards at Nilofer Hospital and Government Maternity Hospital serve as perfect context for studying malnutrition-related disorders among vulnerable groups. The ill effects of undernutrition in children are analyzed here in detail. Appropriate nutritional care is provided to women and children who form the most vulnerable groups to malnutrition. Aspects relating to antenatal care, iron and other micronutrient supplementation, nutritional support to pregnant women and new mothers, and care during pregnancy-related complications are addressed here. On the basis of NIN's recommendation, vitamin A is being administered orally to young children as a part of the National Program Against Blindness occurring due to vitamin A deficiency. NIN's contributions played a vital role in formulating several supplementary nutrition programs meant for nutritionally vulnerable segments, especially children. These foods help in bridging the energy gap and also provide certain essential nutrients required for healthy growth. Food-based approach to tackle malnutrition has always been the mantra of NIN. The second tier of research work at NIN happens to be laboratory-based research. Several well-equipped, technically sound laboratories help in carrying out detailed scientific investigations in the realm of nutrition science. Interdisciplinary research is the characteristic feature of NIN's work culture. Well-coordinated research activities help in dealing with the subject in a comprehensive and holistic manner. Subject experts from diversified background work in well-defined teams. Several social scientists like psychologists, sociologists, anthropologists, communication and behavior science experts also form an integral part of NIN's research teams. Subject specialists from the disciplines like biostatistics, bioinformatics, dietetics and instrumentation provide a rock-solid support to NIN's research endeavors. The third tier of NIN's research happens to be field or community-based research. The exemplary work carried out by the staff of the field division has paved way for the formulation of several national nutrition programs and for far-reaching policy initiatives. Also, a string of well-defined research-based extension programs aimed at affecting behavior change among the target audience are used by the Institute. Different media channels, including print, electronic, social media, exhibitions are also used extensively to educate people on nutritional themes. Now, let us peep into NIN's research base. These are the well-equipped laboratories where the staff of NIN work with crystal clear vision and high level of commitment to meet the set goals. Let us take a snapshot of the pattern of research work done in these modern scientific spaces. Here's the walkthrough of the matrix of NIN. Let us now peep into these laboratories of NIN. Infant and young child feeding happens to be one of the most important areas of the health research here. At clinical division, food-based approach is used to correct nutrition-related disorders, especially in children and women. Inside the nutrition wards, malnourished children are rehabilitated and treated with care. Women suffering from nutritional deficiencies like iron deficiency anemia are also treated here. Works pertaining to histopathology, blood and other parameters like urine and saliva are carried out here. Studies on the effect of diet on cancer prevention and preclinical toxicology are done here. Also, safety of various products like new foods, recombinant products, genetically modified foods, vaccines is assessed at this division prior to the initiation of clinical trials. Here, all the foods which are consumed by the population groups in the different parts of the country are minutely analyzed for their nutritive value. The huge database generated helps in formulating recommended dietary allowances or RDAs for different nutrients. This helps policymakers to initiate large-scale food intervention programs in the country, keeping in view the nutritional quality of the foods we eat. Usage of different types of edible oils has been recommended to maintain a healthy balance of PUFA and monounsaturated fatty acids or MUFA, and also of N3 and N6 fatty acids in the diet. Here, work is done on foods like fish, which is a rich source of N3 fatty acid, and on other foods like walnut, flax seeds, green leafy vegetables, which are recommended as healthy alternatives. The work on embryonic and other stem cells for fetal programming is a major thrust area of research. Role of vitamin C and retinoic acid in targeting cancer stem cell population has been investigated. Work Physiology and Sports Nutrition conducts several interesting studies in the realms of energy composition, body metabolism, exercise physiology, sports nutrition and ergonomics. Biochemical mechanisms underlying nutrient research interactions are explored here. Why do infants born to undernourished mothers have more body fat in them? Why are they susceptible to early onset of chronic disease? Nutritional well-being of mothers at the time of conception has been found to be the major determinant of the future health of baby to be born. Also, some foods have been found to possess antioxidant and anti-cancer properties like curry leaves and cinnamon. The field-based research done here falls under three categories: the epidemiological, operational and randomized controlled trials. District-level mapping of nutritional status of people is done here under the realm of epidemiological research. Monitoring and evaluation of national nutritional programs form a part of operational research. Large-scale surveys pertaining to supplementary nutrition programs, for example, come under the ambit of randomized controlled trials. Country-wide surveys are taken up to assess the burden of non-communicable chronic diseases like diabetes and hypertension. Support is provided to institute scientists in the designing of rigorous scientific studies using the most appropriate statistical procedures. Well-devised research programs on behavior change communication and nutrition education interventions helped this division in formulating cost-effective nutritional strategies. Use of social media and innovative apps for need-based nutrition and health education is the new area of research here. Food-borne outbreaks are studied in depth and toxicological evaluations are undertaken. The research studies carried out cover a wide range of subjects. Here, spices and condiments are screened for their health benefits. Antibiotic abuse among population has been documented here. Lead toxicity as an environmental hazard has been extensively studied. It breeds several types of high-quality, specific pathogen-free, microbiologically and genetically defined animals for the benefit of biomedical research and for drug testing. It also develops suitable animal models for research. Interdisciplinary research, interministerial collaborations, multi-level networking, and partnership approach characterize NIN's translational research culture. The rich scientific output churned out here has been serving as a strong base for evolving sound, cost-effective technological innovations to be used at the community level. Simple portable kits to test the presence of micronutrient deficiency disorders prevalent in the community are good examples of NIN's thrust on translational research. These kits are used by the field staff at the grassroots level to assess vitamin A, iodine and iron status of our population. The mammoth information-studded library is a cynosure of all eyes. It is a beautiful blend of traditional values and modern technology. This library is an incredible storehouse of latest updated information.
Welcome back. Now that we want to start our panel discussion, I will like to call all the panelists onto the dais. So one by one, kindly come onto the dais, ma'am. Dr. Usha Rani, madam, the HOD Pediatrics, Nilafar Hospital. Please come onto the dais. Dr. Suchitra, madam, she is Associate Professor from Gandhi Medical College. Madam is currently serving as Vice President of Indian Medical Association of Hyderabad and Secunderabad branches. We welcome you, ma'am. I also request, along with Usha Rani madam, Dr. Srilekha madam, Dr. Sirisha ma'am, and Dr. Shravanti ma'am. They are the assistant professors at Nilafar Hospital, affiliated to Osmania General Medical College. And I take this privilege to welcome Dr. Alluri Samira ma'am, who is a senior obstetrics and gynecologist, who is working at Vijay Vamshi Women's Health Center. I welcome Dr. Avala Lakshmaya Garu, Scientist G and HOD, Public Health Nutrition Division at ICMR Alliance. Sir, please come on to the tower. Now I invite Dr. G. Narasimha Rao Garu, consultant at UNICEF, who is working working with Women and Child Division in the Telangana State Division. So kindly come on to the dais, sir. Thank you. Now that we are ready with our panelists, our moderators will please keep silence. Please maintain silence. Okay, now that we have a panelist on the board, our moderator will take over the dais and we'll continue the panel discussion. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. We welcome you all to the panel discussion on the topic of breastfeeding practices. I'm Dr. Pratyusha, Scientist B from Clinical Division, and here with me is my colleague Dr. Nandeep from Clinical Epidemiology Division. We have an amazing panel here with us from varied fields of expertise such as pediatrics, obstetrics and gynecology, public health, women and child development. We are sure this would bring a unique perspective that will help us all understand the topic better. We would also like to let you know that we have a 20-minute time at the end of the panel discussion for the questions from the audience. Thank you.
Thank you, Pratisha. Before we move on to the panelists, we have a couple of questions for the audience. With a show of hands, how many of you were aware before the symposium that exclusive breastfeeding should be banned, and not even water has to be given in the first 6 months of life? Oh, that's quite a lot. Okay, following on that, how many of you know if you had been exclusively breastfed for the first 6 months of life? Well, that's quite an exception. Still, we'll ask our first topic of discussion to the pediatricians here. According to the latest NFHS data, exclusive breastfeeding under 6 months of age is at 64%. Based on Dr. Samarasimha Reddy's presentation, we see that it's almost as low as 32%. So why do you think it is this low despite the various programs and various increased awareness programs that we have? Or do you think there are any adverse effects that the mothers might be perceiving during breastfeeding?
This gaps and the low rate of exclusive breastfeeding is usually because of the health system gaps. So, I mean, the prenatal guidance system, the gynecologists or the health providers guiding the mothers to initiate the breastfeeding or breastfeed the child exclusively. And then, as Madam said, it is the workplace environment being friendly to breastfeeding. There are no breastfeeding rooms or creches at the workplace, and they are not given proper means for exclusively breastfed the child. And then family support, emotional and financial support from the family, even the education of the family, the income of the family, all these matters. And then the last thing is aggressive, aggressive advertisements and aggressive propagation of infant food, that being the major cause of the baby.
Does anybody have anything else to add to this?
Yeah, well said, Sirisha. Thing is, we have the warm chain that we have seen. So at various levels, we need to be communicating. It's like the time they have planned for pregnancy, that is the time when they have to even think about how they're going to take care of the baby. So if you start counseling from the beginning, the job is done. Not at the time when the delivery is there or when you see the baby at the first time and everything comes to you. So your enjoyment and your receiving of the guest, young guest, is a different issue. So plan it earlier. So for that, we need to have proper guidelines also at different levels, at community level and at home also. When it comes to community level, it should be the counselors. When you have an antenatal sessions, it is not only the obstetrician who takes care. You need to have some counselors there. You need to have a system that is arranged so that what are the difficulties or what are the stages where the breast starts growing and where the mother can feel the sensation. Because in antenatal period itself, if they are trained well, that is how you can take it over to the next phase where the baby will be very warmly welcomed in the warm chain. That is one thing. And at home also, home environment have to be prepared for them. Like all the, supporting members in the family need to know about their in and out about what is breastfeeding and why they have to be completely exclusively separated. It is not the functions or it is not the celebrations that are awaited, but it is important that the baby has to come into this world and grow better. So that is the reason we are asking. I mean, there is a 1,000-day program also. First 1,000 days, there is a Lakshya program, 1,000-day program. Now the gynecologists and the pediatricians are going ahead, and we are seeing that this will be propagated well. This is one thing. And second perspective is a one-to-one. These are the postnatal problems because mother has so many postnatal issues, like she has a postnatal stress also. So the recon has postpartum blues, where depression is seen in some, and some are like exhausted. So all these things have to be taken care properly and handled, wherein exclusive breastfeeding can be promoted better.
I also invite Dr. Sharmila ma'am, who is online right now. She's from Apollo Hospital right now, for being in OB, for taking care of OB. This madam said that she is unable to come. So madam is really interested to be in person. So ma'am, kindly.
Thank you. Thank you for the invite. Actually, I mean, I have friends sitting on the dais. Hi to my friends and hi to everyone there. Am I audible?
Yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, I really wanted, when I saw all the names out on the invite, I thought I have to jump and come, but sadly today, I mean, I'm not able to make it physically, but some other day I'm very keen to come. I think it's an honor to be just sharing the dais with all the dignitaries, and also the venue, NIN, has such great history and such learned colleagues there that I would have loved to share the dais physically. Yeah, and I mean, pardon me, I would like to just share my few thoughts about it. This, I mean, should I talk about what I think is the reason as to why there is a discontinuation for breastfeeding? Why is it not exclusive?
Yes.
Yeah, I was surprised to know that the numbers are like staggering, not just in the other parts of the world, even in India. I mean, for different reasons, though. Western world, I think the awareness is there that exclusive breastfeeding is going to make a lot of difference. The awareness is there, but there are certain logistic issues, like maybe because they do not have the access to for a safe breastfeeding place when they return back to work. And while in India, I think the majority still are unaware that exclusive breastfeeding is superior to I mean, like using other things along with breastfeeding, like it's either formula or cow's milk or food, sometimes very early. All these things, I think, stem largely because they're not aware that exclusive breastfeeding is superior. This is about the large majority of people who do not have access to information. While on the other hand, people who have access to information is working in the reverse way. I mean, knowing more, but not knowing the right thing, doubting yourself, then thinking you're doing good to your baby by also supplementing, while actually the baby doesn't need a supplement, being overfed. So we have the entire spectrum. India is very diverse culturally in every sense. So I think here our reasons are also very diverse.
We have more questions actually. We would like to discuss further. This will be our second question. It's again for the pediatrics team. Ma'am, we would like you to answer. Shamla ma'am. It is a common practice for mothers to avoid breastfeeding during minor ailments like fever and common cold. So is it really necessary? What, according to the current guidelines, are absolute and relative contraindications for breastfeeding?
Did you ask me?
Anyone in the panel can answer.
Okay. So I'm Sharmila. As about contraindications to breastfeeding, is it? So
even during minor ailments, mothers
very, very few contraindications actually. Almost more than 99% of the mothers can feed. So very few contraindications are there. I would say absolute contraindications are some of the intolerance of metabolism, where some of the contents of the milk they are not metabolized properly and they may turn toxic to the baby. So things like galactosemia, phenylketonuria. So only some intolerance of metabolism that's absolute contraindication. And I would say maybe partial relative contraindication. Maybe suppose if the mother is on chemotherapy
Our mother is a victim of, not a victim, like a substance abuse. The mother is addicted to certain addictive drugs. Our chemotherapy agents, our radioactive isotopes, those things temporarily we had to stop breastfeeding. And other relative contraindication, the mother is HIV positive. It depends on the countries. In India, it is not a contraindication. Mother can continue to feed if the mother is receiving ART and baby is getting prophylaxis. Whereas in certain countries, HIV is absolutely contrary. So this is a relative contraindication in India. But some countries depends upon the government policies. Simply any infection is not a contraindication. Even if mother has tuberculosis, mother still can feed. Even if mother has high-grade fever, still she can feed. So the very few contraindications only, I would say absolute is only inborn metabolism and temporary cessation for certain drugs.
Fever and common cold.
Even high-grade fever also mother can feed. So there is no question of thinking about it when mother has minor illness. Even COVID, even if mother has COVID, she can still feed. Unless she is in ICU or ventilator, she can still feed. As long as mother is stable, she can feed the baby.
Thing is, when such analgesics and antipyretics are given, even those are secreted in the milk, and for a while the baby may not feel like taking them. They have a lot of good sensation. The newborn has so many taste buds, and they are so well arranged and accustomed to the taste flavors. They want the flavor. But when there is a change in flavor, as we also are very much like adults, we don't want some change in flavor when we are sick. So babies also experience that, but that is not to be devoid of, a child should not be devoid for the breastfeeding. It has to be continued.
Thank you, ma'am. Out of the 194 countries that have adopted legal measures to implement the International Code for Marketing of Breast Milk Substitutes, only 25 countries have measures that are substantially aligned with the code. India is one of them. India even has the IMS, Indian Milk Substitutes Act, to discourage the use of formula and complementary feeds. Yet they are increasing, especially among people of high socioeconomic status. Where do you think have we gone wrong? I would like to address this question to public health experts here.
Thank you. Thank you very much for inviting for this important panel discussion and also sharing with experts. So here the act was agreed by 194 countries, but now recent reports say that it is almost 136 countries are being implementing this act. But only if you see the how many, because the implementation, several factors are there, more than 10 items are there. So out of 10 items, total 10 to 10 each countries are implementing, that is also important. But only few countries, only 25, I think 25 countries are implementing absolutely all acts and guidelines. That is only 25. Now the 25 also now recent report 2020. So there was a meeting in this year and some European countries. So they reviewed the entire the situation of this act, how many countries are implementing, 100% how many countries. Now it has become 44 countries now completely implementing, and another 42 countries they are in midway. Half of the acts they are implementing, half of the guidelines. But still, there is a lot of motivation is required, and the conducive environment has to be created by the stakeholders, especially government and policies. So that is, but we are happy that India is one of the countries implementing all 10 guidelines. So that is there.
Dr. Narasimha sir, would you like to add something to it?
Thanks for inviting me for the very this discussion. I would say, as other panelists said, the educating mothers, especially the entire focus is on during the pregnancy and after the child is born. Now in India, we need to have new policies and programs for preconception area, number one. Number two, much prior to the adolescent age. What is required is, rather than we have sufficient acts and policies in place, we can see that those are reached to the community and translated to the practicing elements to the community. For example, we are talking about early decision breastfeeding. I'm sorry, I'm deviating from the system, but we are still far behind to reach. We are still at the 30%, not even at the fast rate. So what we have seen from the public health policy practicing is, if the departments converge between, for example, health WCD and the rural development, self-help groups and urban self-help groups. Such example I can quote from my experience in West Bengal district when I was working in a consultant there. We tried with, you are familiar with ASHA, ANM and Anganwadi at the grassroots level. If these three grassroots community workers can sit together and reconcile the data and their challenges at the field level and discuss among themselves, that is quite possible. We have seen tremendous results in terms of reaching the mothers, as the other panelists said, during the antenatal period. We have 4 wonderful opportunities, 4 contact points. If we can ensure these 4 contact points are addressed and the mothers are reached by these frontline functionaries during the antenatal period, even those eligible couple, if they are addressed, what is to be taken care in terms of their health and nutrition part, I think we can arrest the many kind of preventable actions that are turning the coin around, because we have to reach the early initiation and also exclusive breastfeeding. So the key element, what my experience says, convergence is the mantra in improving elements and behaviors around breastfeeding and early initiation of breastfeeding.
Thank you, sir. Now, next question, we would like to know the perspective of the obstetrician here. Institutional births are at 89% in India, yet only 42% of the neonates are breastfed in the first hour of life. To add to this is the fact that high rates of cesarean sections are associated with low rates of initiation of breastfeeding. Especially in Telangana, it is 61% the rate of C-section. What could be the cause for this, and what can be the remedies?
Thank you very much once again for inviting me to this prestigious institute, and thank you, my classmate, Judge. Sharing my experiences. I'm really passionate about this breastfeeding. The first point of contact to any would-be mother would be an obstetrician. No obstetrician should tell that I don't have time to counsel. So from that stage, whatever message should disperse with different counselors, then the pediatricians, all those things. That is my point. I'm practicing in the private practice for the past 2 decades. And I can proudly say that all my Vijayavamsi babies are breastfed in the first hour. Whoever can be breastfed. Okay. And Dr. Usha has done about the skin-to-skin contact happened to most of my babies. I have learned a very useful point today from Dr. Sridhar's talk, that consequence factor happens through the genetic factor. That's so nice. So the initiation of breastfeeding, but usually what I do practically, if I'm operating or delivering, once the baby is handed over, I talk to the mother continuously about the breastfeeding, little tips and all. So we can make use of the guide from the obstetrician perspective. If they feel that they are here, you see, those time can be spent with the patient. So the second thing is how during the rounds we have to definitely supervise, and maybe I'm telling the question you have asked me about
early initiation of breastfeeding, especially in cesarean section. Yeah.
So this is relevant, what I'm telling. So I tell my patients there is a mantra like Kana, Pita, Sona, Dena. Every 2 hour breastfeeding, Kana, you be ready to take at least a glass of water you drink and be ready to breastfeed your baby. Number 1. Sona, along with your chain. You sleep along with the chain, so you get the rest. And Dena, once you give the feeding, then then only the breastfeeding will be made. The first few days, majority, especially in the primaries, the firstborn child, usually the breast milk, they think that there is no breast milk, milk is not coming, it's not always. But the majority of the time, the baby helps the mother. It suckles at the breast. It may not be always the colostrum and all. So I tell my mothers, see, it is feeding. That means that it is getting. So you continue that. Okay? And
specific. Many cesarean sections are nutritional therapies. Why only exclusive breastfeeding only 30 to 40%? How to improve that?
So, exclusive breastfeeding I am touching upon. The raising rates of cesarean section. On one trend, especially in the Telangana government, there is a lot of stress on the obstetricians and all to come down the cesarean section rate and all. The other side of it, the obstetricians, from the obstetricians perspective, there are so many logistics where on the one side we are seeing the improvement in both the infant and maternal mortality rates. There are some benefits doing cesarean section also, not that we take a decision going in for cesarean section just for those benefits. But some people, there are different sects of people we see while practicing. Those who can deliver, they come and ask for cesarean. Just do it. That's okay. But on the other side, where they are for cesarean section, they insist on cesarean section always. Practically, that's why normality of obstetricians will come down so much normally with these practices, and more so with the present government insistence on this. Yes, they have to look after regarding all these things. They have to support the obstetricians on this. They're taking a privilege in shutting down the private nursing homes, all these things. No, it's not like that. The message should go very strongly to the, not strongly, in a gentle way only, to the people that doctors are striving hard to facilitate the right work for them. Whatever is good for them, we do. Either in the government sector or private sector. So one thing is the lifestyle, the late age marriages, the ARTs, and the associated mobility associated with them, the PCOS and all, more number of diabetes, more number of...
Yes, ma'am. We have other questions that will cover this topic, so we'll move on to the next one. Yes, ma'am. Okay, thank you.
My next question is again to you, ma'am. Like this is all theory, early initiation of breastfeeding should be done. So what are the actual practical difficulties that we see while trying to initiate early initiation of breastfeeding? Will having a dedicated staff in the recovery room help this to achieve EABF? And do we have such a system right now in private and public sector?
We have it. Are now practicing at City Holistic Hospital. We have a system. Previously also used to. The difference I have observed over the years is the nurses are more motivated by themselves, and they are more concentrated. Whatever they have to do, the attitude of the nursing personnel and all, now it is different. We try to teach the thinking of properly with the latest gadgets and all. They are doing it. These are all the practical difficulties, but definitely it helps. Once we handle the pediatric issue, the legal resuscitation happens, and the pediatric nurse gets the baby and feeds the baby on the day.
I would like to hear the thoughts of others too on this.
And one more thing I insist while counseling them is each time feeding should be breastfed. Each time feeding should be breastfed. They say that once we fed on the breast, one feeding will be bottle feeding like that. Each time you feed between the breast, followed by, if it is not something, suppose like diabetic children and all, when the weight is more, the need can be more, especially for the first few days. I insist on breastfeeding for even at nights.
In tiredness of mother, that's what Madam has wonderfully said. It is because of the tiredness or because of the experience or the stages that they have gone through, even because of surgery. Spinal anesthesia, she can't have the back. So she has a problem. So you cannot say that you start feeding, you start, everybody comes and that really creates so much, because as a personal woman, we can experience. Most of the girls sitting here, you will tomorrow have to experience this. So prepare yourself or prepare your minds, keep yourself in a position and think about it, how practical it is. So come out with the practical points rather than having a talk or having a say. We have a lot of messages, we have a lot of information available everywhere. But thing is how we have to put it in the right place and right time. So encourage them, support them in a better way in their own perspective. Every mother will not be in the same condition to be counseled for. Counseling for different mothers in a different way, and definitely, as Madam has said, put the baby on the chest of the mother, be it a cesarean delivery, be it a normal delivery. That is a dictum or mandatory thing at the present point of time.
Thank you, ma'am.
To complete this, your questions, dedicated staff is needed, no alternative. And also, we are asking, is there a system in place? Definitely, some have. I don't say universally it is not there. Some of the hospitals with their own interests they are creating, but there's no robust mechanism to see that a dedicated staff is there, especially in public sector hospitals.
We have no policy as of
Yes,
we can make changes towards that. That is one way where we can work
yes,
on.
we have in Gandhi presently we have 40 babies and 4 counselors. Now tell me, these 4 counselors, how long they have to go? So what we do is we ask the postgraduates also to follow the rounds and then tell. There are the next SSU medical officers who take care of. But still, because 40 deliveries per day, we have at least 40 to 60 mothers. Postnatal ward, we have at times 90 also. So it is not possible for us to have one-to-one counseling, one-to-one sessions. So definitely we have to make a policy change.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, just one to add. I'm agreeing the attitude of the supporting staff in the neighborhood. From the policy point, we just taken a small initiation of encouraging the personnel in the labor room, giving them incentives for initiating the early breastfeeding. The Department for Health and WCD jointly working on providing incentives for the labor room staff. So we basically initiated stamping the nurse card immediately after the deliveries happen and providing some sort of a small incentive. I'm totally agree with the incentives will not encourage and entirely change the game, but still it is a small step in promoting the initiation of breastfeeding. So there is a policy in place. Still, we have to go far over it.
Baby steps, maybe. Thank you. Sir, we would like to continue with a public health question. So, breastfeeding is usually considered a woman's job, but in my opinion, the times are changing, trends are changing. So, it should be, mother will feed, but it is the responsibility of the entire family and the society to make sure that breastfeeding happens exclusively for the first 6 months. So, what changes do you think we can make? Would it be effective to include breastfeeding promotion programs in school and college syllabi? So that will be my first question. Then I'll go to my second.
Yeah, thank you. It is a very good question. Definitely. Answer. Yeah. So thank you. It is a very good question, and because the breastfeeding promotion and the knowledge, creating knowledge is very, very important, especially even school and school areas, because now we are talking about adolescent period. So that period is very, very important. We have to introduce small even curriculum like so anyhow we are including some sex education, other things. Apart from in that education itself, even this also one of the subject may be included, and some studies also there. In some of the countries, this was experimented because and recently the study published in 2020, I think. So they have shown by introducing some small curriculum and educating this age group, but there is a lot of changes afterwards. So there is an improvement in breastfeeding practices. So there is no policy now, but it is better to try.
It's like sensitization.
Yeah, sensitization. And in that, of course, so many things, these myths and other things.
Yes, sir. Myths and taboos. We are coming to that too.
and we can also create the knowledge and so it will not be a surprise when they come to age of motherhood.
I would also like to know, sir, your opinion on what is the role of men in promoting and encouraging breastfeeding, especially husbands and fathers, because women will mostly be in maternal houses in our culture. So the role of fathers and husbands.
Very important question. Because breastfeeding it won't happen just like that. It is not a magic. There definitely needs, a woman needs family support and husband. Because from practical point of view, I have 15 months baby. Right from my wife delivered, I am now really experiencing how difficult it is supporting a boy in the street. Being a public health practitioner, even with my wife, I was continuously educating her, keep change the breast whenever you're feeding the baby. It is must. Because when keep changing, breastfeeding, breast milk produces. But practically talking about the behaviors, it's very difficult.
So what
I had to really behind my wife to change the practice, single practice. It's practice, it's practical. So, but the change in behaviors is possible by continued dialogue and consistency in dialogue. Because we have seen a lot of material, a lot of social behavior changes materials are available. If you have to continue on single dialogue, you know, you all are familiar with Pulgaja Gates Osunda. The very simple single dialogue. That has changed a phenomenal discussion among the community and debate. So the mantra at the family level and at the community level and at the policy level is consistency in dialogue around any element we take. That will definitely is possible when you want to address the behaviors.
Thank you, sir.
We are at the policy level.
I would say husband should help the wife to take rest and allow time to have to cook and do the work.
I could really say that.
The woman and the child.
Absolutely.
The environment of the society not.
We also have to have fights.
There's too much interference with the mother and child.
True, ma'am. I really agree. And on the other side, now we are also thinking about the maternal mental health.
Women are multitaskers, we know that. So we can manage.
One important thing is we have to create awareness to husband also. One point is we have to focus the same education we are giving to husband also. So then only because he should know the importance of initiation of breastfeeding, exclusive breastfeeding, initiation of complementary feeding in time. These are the things he should also know. Otherwise, the support will not come.
That is why this is a follow-up question for the early sensitization question. If it is like if they are all kids, all children are sensitized early, they will have that awareness by the time they become adults.
During counseling sessions, I see the fathers also during counseling sessions.
But they are too big to listen by the time they become fathers and husbands.
In nuclear family, they support a lot.
At least something is better than nothing.
It's a nuclear family. When the boy is away from the parents, then he can take care of the boys better. All the women here understand that, and that is practical. That is practically true, because every mother feels that that son is for her. So he doing the work to other women, she cannot tolerate that. That is practical. We know that these are practical things. When we have to say some policy decisions to them, definitely don't talk and don't interfere into the family matters. Rather, be very specific how she has to be managing and what your jobs are. Assign your jobs, discuss among yourself. This should be left to them, not to us. So what we have to make sure is when they come with their in-laws or with the parents, one session will be definitely seen. So that counseling session should be for the entire family. Let mother take care of the baby. You take care of the household chores. This adjustment internally and outside also when she's at the workplace. At the workplace, the boss should allow the mothers, whoever are feeding, the feeding timings. like second RD or third RD. That's what we said at work centers also. We need to have creches or we need to have a room, feeding rooms. There is a very famous this thing about Hirkani rooms. The time permits we would have shared about it, but there is Hirkani room. There is a very good story about it. How the breastfeeding was made so mandatory.
For the joint family, maybe early, not early later, but after 1 year, joint family will be supportive.
Yes, very true, very true. I do agree, sir. I do agree with your statement. Joint family, when the elders are there, they share their experience. Their experiences are really good. They also tell that how the mother should be able to hold out, how to take care of the things. But there are many things which will be as a practices. Don't let the practices and your customs fall in between the bonding of mother and baby. This has to be clearly depicted to them when they come for counseling.
That was a wonderful discussion. So breastfeeding is the duty of the entire family and not just of the mothers. Moving on to the next question. Okay.
It's okay.
Yeah. So the first part of the question was already covered by the keynote speaker, that how if the mothers are not feeling that they are producing sufficient milk. So my question would be, is it practically possible to meet the nutritional needs of multiple babies with exclusive breastfeeding?
Yeah, absolutely. Because every mother is gifted with the potential to produce enough milk, which would meet the nutritional demands of the n number of babies. I mean, often we see that twins are triplets. So the main thing is mother should take adequate nutrition. So for one child, whatever is advised antenatally, she should take. For any extra child, for twins or triplets, additional 500 kilocalories she should be taking. She should take adequate rest. And most important is continuous motivation, encouragement, and support from the family is required. So when we come to nuclear families or rural areas, mother immediately after giving delivery, maybe she will take a rest for 1 week or 10 days. She will be busy in domestic work or she will go for some manual work. So nobody will be taking care of the baby, or some elders will be there at home. So only when she frequently feeds the baby, she will be able to meet the nutritional demands. So,
yeah, rightly said, Srinika. About this, there is one more point to be added is, we have the hormone called prolactin. Everybody knows, I believe, sitting here. So your prolactin has a much effect on the secretory alveoli. So this stimulus will be based on how many babies are inside. It's already got designed. It's not human made. So how many ever babies are inside, be twins or triplets or quadruplets also, the mother can still give the milk to the baby. Sufficiency, to know how it is sufficient, because we are humans. None of the animals think that their milk is sufficient to the babies. I always counsel the mothers whenever I attend the deliveries. I tell them, see, none of the animal, like buffalo doesn't go and say its kid that like I need other buffalo's milk or I need other formulas. Their brains are not grown, but our brains are much grown. So we think a lot about insufficiency. If the baby is feeding well, if the baby is sleeping between the feeds and the diapers that the baby is wetting about 6 to 8 times and having stools very good at frequency, like sometimes it is because of breast milk, it can be 5 to 7 times also. That is acceptable. All these things are the baby's growing. Don't just look at the first day. I mean, first 10 days, what happens? There is 10% of weight loss. They usually come up saying that at birth the baby was chubby. Hardly within 3-4 days, we are seeing the baby is lean. Don't think that it is loss. So that is how you have to counsel them that it is not a loss. It's growing. Baby is growing. Yeah, it is a natural process that is happening. So if you can pull out those myths that the loss is normal, the baby is having a good amount of milk, there is nothing needed extra. So these promotions have to be from the government side, not only from government side, from the advertisements also. We see a lot of advertisements with all the heroines and heroes and who are more encouraging things. When we see Kareena Kapoor, she's seen with some infant formulas also. She has seen with some diaper ads also. But we have never seen these people coming out with the feeding habits. If they would have told about this, every Nubian corner of the country will be following. So we have to, bank on them and go ahead. That's what I think.
That was quite insightful, ma'am. Also, since ma'am has already mentioned about women going for work and grandmothers taking care of the baby, how do we enable these caretakers to ensure a proper supply of breast milk for the baby when the mother is not available?
Now we are available with so many breast pumps, and there is a manual and electrical breast pumps. So before going to the birth, woman can express the breast milk. It can be stored at room temperature up to 4 to 6 hours, and it's normal domestic refrigerated for 1 day, and domestic freezer for almost 1 week, and the deep freezer for 3 months to 6 months. So she can express and store properly in a plastic container or a glass container. And preferably in India, we are using steel container with a lid. She can store that properly without any contamination, and she can, before that giving to the baby, she can take out the milk and she can tie it by keeping it in the lukewarm water or keeping it under the normal running water. Never boil the milk. So, and she can give it directly. Little mix the milk before giving, because it will be separated into the fat and water. So, and she can give directly with the paladin, or the cup, whatever she has, the spoon, whatever the grandmother thinks comfortable, she can give feed.
So, conclusion with the adequacy question. Do different mothers produce different quantity of milk and different composition of milk? And how does maternal nutrition influence this?
As it is said, breast milk is a dynamic one, right? So it changes with the baby's needs. So it depends on the gestational age of the baby, weight of the baby, even the gender matters. There is a difference in the milk composition between the boys and the girls' milk also. So it depends on the weight of the baby. I mean, it depends on the gestational age, the age of the baby, as the baby is growing. Initially, it is like colostrum, which is high in proteins. Later, it will transition into mature milk, that is more in fat content. So every mother has a different composition of milk. The skin contact between the baby and the mother will expose the mother to different organisms, thereby producing antibodies to that microbiome. So even the antibody content, the immunogenic factors are different from mother to mother. So that way it is very different. And about maternal nutrition, yes, there is definitely the milk production is definitely constant, irrespective of the mother's nutrition. It definitely affects the way milk production, but it's like the baby is like a parasite. Like even an iron deficient mother can produce the milk with normal quantities of iron. So even the calcium production, the bone stores are taken up to produce the normal calcium in the breast milk. That is how, yes.
Literally, mother sacrifices her own.
Exactly. That is how the baby literally sucks everything out of it.
We better stay healthy.
Exactly. So the adequate nutrition, adequate supplementation, and hydration and rest is the most important.
I think she has some. Yeah, Shamila wants to add something. I have one more follow-up question regarding to the nutrition. We can't hear your questions at all.
Am I audible?
Use this chat.
Okay. Regarding the maternal nutrition, I have a follow-up question. We have very common cultural practices here to increase some quantities, like some diets like garlic and sesame seeds to the lactating mothers. How frequently are these galactagogues? Like, how good are they? Are they really beneficial, or they're just simple cultural practices?
Someone wants to say that?
She wants to.
That's some other question.
Yes, definitely galactagogues will help. There are galactagogues. These are the cultural practices. We need to get in certain cultural practices also. Some heads I'm seeing nodding. Yes, yes. So the thing is, like this cumin seeds, the garlic, these are all natural products which we daily have it in our diet. So when we use it, there is nothing.
We have scientific evidence for that.
Yes, we do have. They are galactagogues because the sensory smell, whatever comes, that is the baby perceives the smell, feels the hunger, suckles at the breast, and the neuroendocrine reflex is a routine, it's a cycle that will not be broken. So that is the reason we encourage them to have these products.
she wants to answer.
The best electrolyte is frequent suckling.
Yes.
So there's no alternative. Whatever mother takes, if the baby doesn't suck at the breast, mother will not get it.
Frequent suckling.
We keep the baby and mother together. We have to say that it is rooming in initially. Rooming in is baby and mother in the same room. No cradles now. And the second one is bedding in, where baby and mother are on the same. Okay, so we will come. Will go ahead. Any more?
Natural, definitely we agree. We can access with no harming, giving them.
So as Suchitra said, we definitely agree. There are some drugs also, like metoclopramide, domperidone. So usually we do not use as a placebo effect. Domperidone, definitely they increase the prolactin secretion. Only in case of induced lactation we resort to. Otherwise, frequent suckling, we have very rare occasions where we use ganathologs. Only counseling, support, and frequent suckling at the breast had helped all the mothers, almost all the mothers. We need not have to use any drugs or any other products for increased milk production. Only when in adopted mothers. Do you know even adopted mothers can breastfeed? So in such cases, so mother who is never pregnant, women who is never pregnant wants to feed an adopted baby. Maybe in such cases, the drugs we can resort to. Otherwise, it's not needed.
Thank you, ma'am. Dr. Sharmila, ma'am, would you like to share us about any recent developments regarding this topic, such as music therapy or effect of screen on lactation?
Yeah, sure. Like there is a significant. Hello.
Oh, please.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
There is this very interesting study that is carried out on preterm mothers who come to the NICU to express their milk. So it is published in a journal of diagnostic research. So they found out that they segregated two groups, and then they found out the essence of the study is that music actually increases breast milk by lowering the stress levels. They measured salivary cortisol in these mothers with music and without music, and then they correlated. There was a clear-cut increase in the milk output in mothers who listen to music while expression. I am sure this is going to act for every other mother too. So listening, calming down, anything that calms you down, because this is so very influenced by hormones. Anything that calms down the mother will increase the milk output. That all of us know, because all the pain, any negative emotion actually inhibits that. And oxytocin levels are also known to increase during hearing music and music therapy. So the other thing is about screen time.
Or rock music or rap or whatever.
Whatever makes her feel best. In fact, these studies are done on music from flute.
Mother likes that.
Even on flute, you can make rap music and every kind of music. Every instrument can produce various kinds of notes and music. Yeah. So the other thing that I wanted to highlight is that, yeah, Usha ma'am wants to say something else.
I'm sorry to interrupt, Sharmila. So please don't tell all the mothers to watch serials.
Yeah.
In such a crooked, very manner, wicked expressions, probably that increases stress levels of mothers.
Yeah. So actually, madam actually brought up the topic that I was just about to talk about, and that is screen and breastfeeding. So there is this new term which is coined, which will explain about breastfeeding and texting while breastfeeding. It's so sad that we had to talk about this on a scientific platform, but I'm happy I'm doing this because how screens have invaded everyone's life, and without even knowing, all of us are evolving into a different race. It is happening to everyone with no exception that we are becoming attention deficient and hyperactive. That's because of the screen, both adult, children, no exception. Other than that, coming back to the point, if you are texting or if you're distracted while breastfeeding, then your eye-to-eye contact with your baby comes down, and this will lead to anxiety and insecure attachment for the newborn. It is just like a baby left in an orphanage who is being fed by someone who doesn't give eye contact, just feeds formula. So the very same effect is noted in these babies who are being breastfed while texting. There is a term that's called breastfeeding and texting. So I just wanted to bring this topic up. I'm happy that you asked me this question about screen and breastfeeding. So it's not important just to give you a breast and then do whatever you want to know. Yes, you are transferring the microbiome, you're transferring the milk, which is as heavenly as nectar, but it's more important, equally important also to form the bond with your baby, which is irreplaceable. I can vouch for it as a mother who breastfed her babies, both her babies. So happy breastfeeding to all the mothers who are watching this and all my colleagues who gave me this.
So thanks for letting us know that screen time for mothers as well as baby are both harmful for the baby. Thank you, ma'am.
Bye. With this,
harmful to both, not only to the baby, also to the mother.
But EQ is more important.
Yeah.
EQ is rather equally important as IQ.
Yeah, equally or even more important, because intelligence, contrary to what people think, is not just skill, it's your ability. Being smart, being smart is about how well you use your skills. And there, your emotional intelligence, social intelligence, everything comes into play. And for skills that cannot be harnessed, it's as good as not having a skill. So I think it's equally or even more important to have a high EQ and average IQ if you were to choose, rather than a very high IQ with low EQ. Thank you all.
This note, I just want to say thank you for Sharmila ma'am, because she wants to continue her OP right now. So thank you very much, Sharmila ma'am, for your kind participation from our institute. Thank you.
India has Maternal Benefits Act for the welfare of nursing mothers and their babies. What more steps can we take on top of this to make the institution breastfeeding friendly? I would like to direct the question to the public health experts.
Here, the Maternal Benefit Act was done in 2017, but a lot of policy issues are there, a lot of policy framework is there, but unfortunately, as you said, most of the institutes are not creating that crèche and other things. Because every 50 employees are there, that each institute should have crèche with every 50 employees. But most of the institutions we have not seen, but we are lucky that we have crèche, because I am the in charge since more than 10 years.
It's a very active one. We have toys and all.
Yeah, there are a lot of infrastructure.
We have arranged AC also.
Yeah, we arrange AC, even we have arranged a water filter and we have arranged a small shades. So everything, and beds also. Two children, one bed. So that we have created, but unfortunately, most of the administrators do not know. These are also provisions. Every 10 children, one employee should be provided to the scripture. And in the 6 months to 36 months, one is to 10. So one employee should be there, one worker should be there for 10 children. But in case of 3 to 6 years, 20 children, one worker should be there. This is a provision. If the institute has to pay, so these are the provisions. Lot of also there, even they have to provide some snacks also with government money. So many things are there. If I tell all these things tomorrow, 100 letters will come.
Thank you, sir.
So many provisions are there. They have to provide. So,
Support us. You should support.
So we should have involved some organization administrators in this.
Yeah, administrators. That's why I am telling.
Administrators should.
Tomorrow, 100 letters come to director.
Yeah. So breastfeeding at work, let's make it work.
So now only thing is that there is no missionary to supervise it. That is only the unfortunate thing, that government should monitor and which are the institutes they have created and what are the facilities. Unfortunately, that is not happening because of the goodness of our directors and other things, we have running very well, but not seen in other places.
Thank you, sir.
So we'll quickly move on to the next questions. We have more questions and less time. This question, lactational amenorrhea not only helps avoid further blood loss due to menstruation, but also helps for birth spacing. But some women do conceive during lactation period as early as less than 6 months. So, and they continue to lactate for 2 or 3 more months. So what's the stance on this? Should the mothers continue to breastfeed their baby or should they stop?
They should continue to stop breastfeeding because the infant stimulus itself initiates the contractions. And my mother is also a gynecologist. Her take is, she says continue to breastfeed. As they only we have discussed about this. So maybe my take from now onwards, I say if the mother is nutritionally sufficient, practically she is not seeing much abortions on the breastfeeding. So, and if the mother is nutritionally well and family support is there, if she wants to continue, please continue. And the gestation age of the baby also. So maybe around 1 year, 2 months, there is no point in continuing.
On a person-to-person basis. Thank you, ma'am.
No contraindication. If the mother is willing, she can continue.
Now we have a couple of common questions for the panelists. We would be opening the stage for the audience. Questions after that. Can you share with us any interesting stories about breastfeeding practices that you have seen very briefly? Yes, it's a common question.
Okay. Yeah, I have many stories for that. I will share few stories. One of my patients is a magistrate. She has one child who is 3-year-old and another child is just born. She was feeding both the children. So that was really good. She used to take the younger one to the court after her maternity is over. So this is not unusual. So mother can feed 2 children of different age groups. It's called tandem nursing. That's not in our culture, right? Not so unusual. Even my father used to say, I used to go to school, come back, at 7 years of age also used to suck at his mother's breast. So it's not, as long as mother has no problem, mother is comfortable, mother is a nutritious lady, she can feed 2 children of different age groups. So that the magistrate, they still come, the children, both the children are grown-ups now. One is 18, I think another is around 16-year-old. So that was a real success story. I really appreciate being a magistrate, so busy. Still, she was managing feeding for both the children. And another one software employee, she used to stay in Secunderabad. Her workplace is in high-tech city. There is no pressure, no childcare center in her office. So what she didn't have any maternity leave also. She had to go to work and also she had to feed the baby. She has hired a place. She took a room for rent next to her office. And she hired a caretaker and she used to keep the caretaker along with the baby in that rented room from morning to evening. She used to go there every 2 hours and feed. So there are many mothers who took pains out of the way, who had put in efforts out of the way to continue breastfeeding. So all mothers continue to breastfeed, little bit of support from every quarter. So I think I have so many stories I won't stop, so I will stop here and we have a personal experiences and stories that Madam has shared. Yes, we do have that thing. Personally, even I experienced, I was sharing with them the same thing because I had 2 daughters. One is in 2006 born and 2009. So the one which was born earlier, because in the second delivery when I was having excess of milk, so I had to offer to my first baby to her. That made me really feel better. And now I see the intelligence quotient also. The first one is doing better. Second one, because I was doing my post-graduation, unfortunately I could not feed her for months. It was hardly for 2 months I had to be at home. So after that I had to join back there wherein she was kept on her formula. So this is how there is a difference. Leaving that, I just want to tell you about Hirkani story. I was mentioning you. What is it, the Hirkani? Why this has come? There are Hirkani rooms or these are the centers that are opened at
every malls or bus stations or bus stands or railway stations, why these rooms have come into picture. There's a beautiful story behind it. How many of you know it? Oh, happy. There are few in the audience. Yes, I'm very happy about it. Yes, sir. We do have that in airports. The story behind it, how many of you know? One. Yes, very good. But then I just want to share it with everybody. I came to know this only a few years back. The thing is, like, there was Shivaji Maharaj once, what he did, he has a court, and his court, there used to be a lady who used to come from a village down the fort. The forts are very high. Fort is very high. They have to bring their goods and all and sell it in the fort yard. And after they finish in the evening, they have to return back to their villages down. So once they climb up, once the time is over, the fort gates will be closed. So once the fort gates are closed, they will be opened the next day morning. So there was a mother who came all the way from the village down, and she climbed up the fort. She was selling her goods, and it became the time was dawn, and then they had to close the fort gates. Once the fort gates were closed, she hadn't found a place like how to go down because she's a feeding mother. She has to go and feed her baby back. So then she went around the palace. She found a way from the fort to get down. She followed that route. It was very dangerous route, but she still followed that and went down to feed her baby. She went home. The next day morning, when she came back to the fort, the gatekeepers, they noticed this woman was inside. How could she go out? So she was taken into the king's presence. Then the king questioned her. Everybody thought she will be punished and she will be put in behind the bars. But then the king questioned her that she is an intelligent person because she gave us a clue that there is another way to go down. So there is an entrance into the fort. And also he asked the reason for why she has to go. Then she said that it is because to feed. He realized, and that is when the Hikani rooms, the rooms specially for the working women, where they can feed the babies. This is what it has come into picture. And now I think this message will be passed on from here to many. This is what we feel. Thank you.
Climb down the fortress of
yes. Mother, if the mother did not the desire of feeding the baby will take her to any place.
So that's why there should not be interference. Leave the mother child.
Ma'am, we heard this story, but we heard only till the point that Shivaji Maharaj said there is another route to the fort, close it. But we didn't hear that it is mother and a room was created for breastfeeding. That part is missing.
Thank you for that, ma'am. It was really insightful. This is the last question we want to end the panel discussion with. So, according to you, is there any unmet component regarding the breastfeeding practices or breast milk composition, the research in which, like, unmet need and the research that has to be done, future explorations regarding the practices and also the actual chemical composition part, like nutrition part, or any other composition as a matter of fact, that you would like to explore?
Yes, the smart nutrients always keeps your brain growing. That's what we are seeing and studying about. And how the influence of these smart nutrients make the developing brain. So we are almost focusing on the developing brain. So for that, what is the milk content and what are the things? Is it mother specific or is it species specific? Initially it was species specific. Now it became mother specific. So there is nothing that can challenge to avoid or to think about what is happening. See, we are given a privilege, we enjoy the privilege, and we see how the babies are growing. So it is better that we keep them at that level only where it should be mother specific. Unless in some conditions where you don't have, because mother is sick or baby is sick or because of some conditions where you may not be able to get self milk for the mother. That is only when we depend on others. And the nutrients that are supplemented, what you have asked, preterms, yes, definitely a preterm supplement. A preterm baby should not be supplemented with the matured mother's milk. That is how we have to think about when it's feeding the sick newborn. So these nutrients part or whatever extra things that you are thinking about, we will keep it to the mother itself because the microbiota, what is coming up, the second genome, what is coming up now, right now, we think that is doing good job, and because our brains are working so faster now, the younger generations are coming with much more smarter ideas because we can see the practices what we do, because there are few sessions also happening, the counseling happening to the mothers. When they are in pregnancy, we have seen so many videos also, whatever the parents parents do, whatever the parents think about, the entire thing is taken up by the newborn inside. These are neuronal reflexes that are developing. Because we see that the nerve cells are laid down in layers. When they are laid down in the layers, that is whatever practices they follow, whatever they think, whatever they do, will be taken over the generation next. So this is being even done at Ramakrishna Math here in Hyderabad itself. There's one more pediatrician, Dr. Anupama Madam. She is taking the Tarijanani program, wherein we have seen, there is a Garbha Samskara, they are following it. These rituals were there before. These are the good customs that have to be carried forward also. These have been noted from the famous Israel scientists also. In Israel, what they do is, these women, when they are pregnant, they do some music classes, they learn music. They do solve some simple mathematics. Wife and husband, they sit down and do mathematics. So all this is carried to the generation. And we see many Nobel laureates from the Israeli country rather than any other parts in the world. There are all the Nobel laureates are from there. Why not from India? Even in India we have. But thing is, like what we do, what we practice, how safe we keep ourselves, and how we put out the neurological things. That's how the baby grows. Rather than thinking about what extra to give and see, we are not going to produce any clones, or we are not going to produce any computers. We want to see whatever is natural and let them grow to their best.
Now, breastfeeding champion, there won't be any end, you know. We can anyway, thanks. Suchita had shared very nice stories. I think you are asking what are the research options.
Yes.
So what I would say is vitamin D we are substituting, but decades ago or centuries ago we never supplemented vitamin D. Why now? That one doubt always strikes to mind. There are some reports, though there is a recommendation to supplement. On the other hand,
counter there one point. Those days we used to not have this much clothing. We never used to have ACs. We used to be exposed to temperature. And second point is there was not much pollution. Now because of pollution also your sun rays do not reach the skin to synthesize vitamin D. So the conditions are very different now compared to those days. But nevertheless, we still have doubts whether we have to go with supplementation or not.
Yes, there are,
but we cannot compare the olden days. Because
definitely, I agree with you, madam. So there is a strong recommendation to supplement now. But I have read some of the papers who say contradicting this. Is vitamin D really necessary? So probably this is one area where the research has to go. Only content or its bioavailability is enough that baby doesn't need supplements. So this is one area. And another area is why there is so much of gap between exclusive breastfeeding rates, early initiation. We are only halfway, we're not crossing halfway mark. So are there any cost-effective interventions which can be implemented on a larger scale? So these are the areas for research and breastfeeding, I strongly believe.
Regarding the supplements, the present day problem what we are encountering, where we can do the test repeatedly, hypervitamin being hyper weaker at a very high level for those things. So how to take on this, how frequently we have to monitor it, it's an area of confusion.
we have no clarity on these things. Yes. Because all things are fortified foods. Whatever we are taking, every drink that you take.
So whatever we are consuming now, whatever the food status that we are having, everything is fortified with all these things. The energy drinks, even a woman takes a women Horlicks also, it has all the things. So
do you advocate Horlicks?
No, we don't advocate. That's what I'm saying, ma'am. So already they are into this. So don't think that sun is not there, I'm not getting it. I'm just giving an example of Horlicks. Even if I say or not, how many of you are drinking here? Tell me. You can see the hands rising back. The girls are now scared. They're putting it down. Yes. Thing is, again the advertisements. The role of the advertisements impact is much more than whatever we talk on the platforms. So it is all that comes from what sir has said repeatedly. A thing to become a habit needs to be followed for certain days. Otherwise it won't.
Here, the three issues are usually debated, and those issues may be answered. One is same thing, the mother milk composition in each stage, maybe 1 month, 2nd month, 3rd month, 4th month, any compositional changes, and even duration of lactation, any output changes, volume of breast. So these things.
Volume changes?
Yeah, volume changes and the qualitative, and also the socio-cultural, socio-economic mothers. Any variation is there, any regional variation is there, maybe southern, northern, something. So these are the issues actually we are planning that study, but even some our juniors can take up those studies.
That might provide baby terms, preterms, based on whether the babies can be artificial milk for mothers. That also, if the institute can support, we would like to.
There's one study from PGI Chandigarh said a few years back, maybe in 2014, I believe. There they have done, immediately after the baby was born, they have collected few samples from the mother's breast when the baby was fed. And the next meconium, when it passed, even they collected that samples and they have seen how what is the organisms that are quite growing. For their surprise, it came the same thing that whatever is present on the mother's skin, that was reproduced in the meconium. So if we can do such large studies, it is definitely useful where we can decide on what factors the babies are doing better.
Some small studies are there, but there is no large studies.
Yes, large studies are still needed. So definitely.
Another issue also there, that is whether the exclusive breastfeeding is 4 months or 6 months.
This is a very good question. I wanted to say.
There is a committee also.
Yes. One thing you should understand scientific reason behind this, what sir has asked, 4 months or 6 months. Just 2 days back, I was in Fempedicon. The same question was there for me. I was talking about the complementary feeding sessions, when to start. What is 6 months? Why not 5 months? Why not 4 months? So for this, you need to be asking about.
Study has clearly shown 6 months is better.
Yes, I do agree. It is in consensus. It is a meta-analysis. We are seeing studies. But one thing, remember, there is something called a neurological thing. That is, you should know. Clinical point I want to share you. There are reflexes in newborn. There is a reflex called tongue thrust. There is a reflex called gag reflex, which are seen early when the baby is born. These are normal newborn reflexes. If the baby is protruding the tongue out, if the baby is not developing the gag, so that, this gag reflex and tongue thrust will help the baby initially to prevent from any foreign body going inside the lungs. That's how it is a natural God-given mechanism. This disappears from 4 to 6 months. And then your phasic bite, what we call as jaw movement starts. So it is baby specific again. Why do we want to label it to 6 months? Nutritional requirements per se, we say that yes, breast milk can support till 6 months. There are evidences. Above that, the baby definitely needs some other foods also to be introduced for its growth.
That means it is baby specific.
Absolutely, it is baby specific.
From 4 months to 6 months, it can range.
It ranges from 4 to 6 months.
Some babies 4 months, some babies 5 months.
Yes, at 4 months, if the baby, majority what they have seen or the meta-analysis, what we have seen is 6. And even the ancient following also, the Annaprasana has started what we think about 6 months, 6 days. So what we said is in the complementary, we are saying about 6 attributes. What are the 6 attributes? We have to be quality, quantity, the texture, the frequency, diversity. The diversity is more important. We are now talking about the rainbow plates. The plate should be rainbow plate. And texture is more important. When we start, it is soft in consistency. The first month, it is soft in consistency. And don't continue the paste. Most of them have the habit of using this, grinding everything. Everything should go in the form of grounded paste and it goes inside, they grow better. That is a very wrong concept. Start up with rice as thing. Because the other day I shared a stage with Dr. Elizabeth Madam, who is a nutrition specialist from Kerala. She was also sharing the same. Why not tell one diet only as a complementary? Why you want to start with that different? Because South India, usually rice is our staple thing and we start with rice. North India, usually they go with wheat-based products or wheat in the same form. The mixture may be, the preparations may be different, but the contents are the same. We have the jaggery, which will be this normal flavor. Don't add sugars. No sugar, no salt. This should be taken care of. Because all the natural items will have this imbibed in them. So better you start off with some food which is good to that area. For a normal sake, I tell rice. Why rice? Rice means our ice. Ice is, it is good for us. North Indians prefer heat. So in wheat, there is heat. That's what she shared. So this will be remembered by everybody. So this is how it goes on. So if you tell such points, what happens is we take up better. We can communicate better. Thing is, start up with rice. Rice is good. Rice with a pulse. Rice with a pulse and jaggery. Milk is added. So your
nutrition is good. That is how the introductory feeds should start and then go on. Sorry. Regarding baby specific, I mean, we have decided that it's baby specific. The Western countries are more going for baby-led weaning nowadays. Like they are giving the choice to the baby for which food to take and at what age. So maybe we can start with that.
Thank you. Due to lack of time, we can't take more questions. 1 or 2 questions we can take from the audience if you have any.
Yeah, can I just ask?
Respected dignitaries, my grandmother, she has delivered more than 30 babies. She is not a gynecologist, but she has 10 kids and she has given like she has helped in delivering more than 30. Sorry for the translation. She has 10 kids, but she has helped all her grandchildren to give birth and all. But one of the case which still remains, memorable to her. She is 100. She remembers it very clearly. She discusses it with me. One of her grandkids, she wasn't able to produce milk, and her kid never had the privilege to have mother's breast milk. What might be the reason for someone to go through this, and what would be the substitute for in such cases? And also, how authentic or reliable are these mother's milk substitute products? Is it going to take any physiological cognitive toll on the baby's health in future?
Yeah, definitely. Artificial milk compared to mother's milk, cognitive effect, IQ points are significantly lesser in artificially fed babies. One of our pharmaceutists used to say, suppose if the mother has not fed the baby may grow up and say later on, I didn't get MSET seat because you have not fed me. Yeah, or put a case. They mess you also, so the mothers. And coming to not able to lactate, I have never come across any case who cannot feed. I strongly believe that does not exist. That does not exist. This is only if the baby is put to breast immediately after birth, definitely milk has to come in. Only if the mother is taking some drugs which inhibit lactation, probably it is like prolactin inhibitors like bromocriptine or carbapenem. In such cases, it may be possible, but otherwise, naturally, not getting breast milk, it doesn't happen. I strongly believe that concept. Maybe stress. Yeah, as you rightly said, stress. If the mother has a lot of stress, she'll not lack of confidence. Due to some illness, she's feeling stressful and not having enough confidence to feed. Otherwise, there's no condition called not able to feed.
Thank you, Mahesh. Congratulations, very great success.
Last question.
Hi, my question is related to what she said. So this is the case that I witnessed. One of my friends, she gave birth. That was a normal delivery, but she could not produce breast milk. Because she was, this is what I have considered, because she was not fed anything for 48 hours after her delivery. And immediately when she came to me, I told her to start with the character works, and within 3 to 4 days, luckily the breast milk started. So as per you, what after how many hours maybe out of the delivery the mother should be given food? Because in traditionally it's like normally it's given half an hour in my family every day.
Cesarean, you are saying? Normal delivery immediately. In the labor room, she can have a coffee after having the delivery. See, this is again lack of awareness. So the family was not well prepared. Family or whoever has facilitated delivery, they were not well prepared. They were not counseled. They were not well educated about what is to be followed. And normally in the labor room, during delivery, of course, during delivery because of pain they can't have, but immediately after the pain, after the baby is delivered, she can sip whatever she wants.
In case of cesarean?
Cesarean, if it is a general anesthesia, till bowel movements are resumed, we do not allow. But in spinal anesthesia, usually after 4 to 6 hours, the mother is alert, active. She can have liquids because it doesn't interfere with the bowel movement much. And of late, every section is done under spinal. Very few cases are done under general anesthesia. Right?
Under spinal, and within 6 hours we are starting.
And
Only the mother might have had some problems, like bowel extensions and all.
Solids, how many?
Solids, normal delivery, immediately it can be given. In cesarean, after spinal, after 6 hours, it can be allowed. Only in general anesthesia, they wait till the bowel movements are resumed, maybe 12, 24 hours later.
Now, the case of last point syndrome, that was really, really new to me, and I really thank you for that. In that case, what is your take? I mean, the breastfeeding should
Reassure the mother and the family members. It is a physiological phenomenon. Just because the breast is was growing during pregnancy, the capillaries get dilated, and there's a blood, some capillaries or blood vessels rupture, and milk, the blood gets mixed with the milk and comes out. It is secreted along with the blood. But if they're comfortable, baby can be continued on breastfeeding. There's no harm in giving that blood mixed milk to the baby.
I want to ask one question.
Last question.
Good afternoon, ma'am. In olden days, for the golden hour, the children are fed with the castor oil. Is it how does
Not recommended. Nothing, no prelactials, nothing else other than breast milk. The word that we are taking from here, from this platform today is encourage breastfeeding. That is the one thing what we are saying. Encourage breastfeeding. Only breastfeeding.
Okay, thank you.
We'll wind up the
Exclusive breastfeeding. Exclusive term is there.
Continue. There are some religious customs. What the family members do is, unless they put honey into the mouth of the baby, they do not serve. But that is also to be condemned. We have to educate them that honey can transmit infections. The baby get infected. So should not give anything, even a drop of water, other than milk to a baby.
This has given me a good opportunity to tell you. Yesterday, when I went around the postnatal wards telling, because of the breastfeeding week celebrations, we went around with the postgraduates. Unfortunately, I could witness a grandmother, giving a milk biscuit dipped in water to a newborn baby. Immediately, we had to approach her, remove that from the mouth, and then tell her that mother has. She said, mother is having only water, not the milk. We said that is only the milk. So you should know what is the consistency. Milk is not always white. It is even that it looks like a serum initially that comes out. So one should be aware, because it's the first day of delivery. She was saying that mother doesn't have milk. So she wanted to feed a milk biscuit. Unfortunate. So we felt that how much more we need to educate. So it is not for one mother, one day, 1 week that we celebrate. It should be a practice for you wherever you come across.
Interference from the mother and mother.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we'll wind up the panel discussion now. We had a wonderful discussion. Big round of applause. From my side, I would like to extend my gratitude to our director, Madam, for giving me this opportunity for moderation, for our amazing panelists who have sunk us in a sea of knowledge, for this wonderful audience. Without whose participation and cooperation, this would not have been possible. And finally, to my dearest colleague, Dr. Pratisha here. Our friends call us Tom and Jerry, but she has been a wonderful partner and she has led the moderation so well. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for participating in the panel discussion. Now I request for the felicitation of the panelists. I request Director Ma'am to kindly come onto the dais. Felicitation of the panelists. Please. First, we will felicitate Dr. Usharani Madam.
No felicitations needed. Involving us in this itself is a felicitation.
Ma'am. Usharani Madam, Suchitra Madam, Associate Professor, Gandhi Medical College. Assistant Professor, Neelofar Hospital. Assistant Professor, Nilofer Hospital. Assistant Professor, Nilofer. Dr. Alluri Samira Madam, gynecologist and obstetrician. Dr. Avla Lakshmi sir, scientist G, HOD Public Health, NIN. You can take it. And Dr. G. Narasimha Rao sir, consultant at UNICEF. Yeah, one group photo. Thank you, everyone.
Closer.
We want to. Can we join?
Yeah, please come. Please
I request Dr. Babu sir and Subbarao sir, please to come onto the desk. Please, you are the main persons for the organizing this.
All the faculty can come if you have the patients. Because faculty can come.
Please, faculty, please.
The first.
Yeah. Yes. Yes, one more. Thank you.
We will have a vote of thanks.
Please come. Please don't disappear. She has.
It's a very quick speech. As it is rightly said that feeling gratitude and not expressing it is like wrapping a present and not giving it. So please, it gives me immense pleasure to extend my heartfelt gratitude to our director madam for making this event possible, which gave us a holistic perspective, both clinical and public aspects of breastfeeding practices. We are extremely grateful to Dr. Usharani madam for her valuable time and insightful thoughts. Thank you, ma'am. I'm very happy to extend my special thanks to Dr. Samara sir for his contributions on current evidence of exclusive breastfeeding, sir. We owe a sincere thanks to our distinguished dignitaries for accepting our invitation and being a part of this enriching panel discussion. Thank you, Dr. Lakshmaya sir, Dr. Narasimha Rao sir, Dr. Sujitra madam, Dr. Jayalakshmi madam, Dr. Srilekha madam, Dr. Shravanti madam, Dr. Samira madam. I'm very happy to say that we have learned many new things. I would like to thank Dr. Mahesh sir for extending the tone for the symposium. I would like to thank Dr. Dr. JJ Babu sir, Dr. Sairam sir for their support. I take this opportunity to thank all the wonderful audience, my colleagues, scientists, technical officers, PhD scholars, MSc students, for making this interactive session and making it a resounding success. My vote of thanks would be incomplete without extending my sincere thanks to the team electricity, maintenance, security departments. Thank you, one and all.
Pratyusha, Monica, and then
I should be working hard for so the days last year. Minute to minute, he was following. Thanks all for.
We thank our director, ma'am, for giving this opportunity.
Ma'am only, because lectured by ma'am.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Hey, Mahesh.
Yes.
Follow up for the lunch.
It is too early for us.